Funny business, a woman's career. The things you drop on your way up the ladder so you can move faster.
Did you know Bette Davis once fought to include an unflattering scene in her own movie? Hollywood trembled at her power. Directors feared her fierce demands.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Co-stars admired her relentless drive. She dominated every scene, every frame. But was she really that good? Let's dive into the mystery of Bette Davis, the actress who could make or break careers with a single performance. Back before the glory. Bette Davis was born Ruth Elizabeth Davis on April 5, 1908 in Lowell, Massachusetts. Her family life was challenging. Her parents divorced when she was young, leaving her mother to raise Betty and her sister Barbara alone. Despite these difficulties, Betty's mother Ruthie was determined to provide her daughters with a good upbringing and encourage their artistic pursuits. This supportive environment played a significant role in shaping Betty's future career. From a young age, Betty was captivated by the world of theater. She loved reading and found herself drawn to the dramatic arts. Her passion for acting was sparked when she saw a performance of the play The Wild Duck by Henrik Ibsen. The experience left a lasting impression on her, and she knew then that she wanted to be an actress. Her enthusiasm was further fueled by her mother's support, as Ruthie encouraged her daughters to explore their creative interests. As Betty grew older, she became more serious about pursuing a career in acting. After finishing high school, she enrolled at the Cushing Academy, a private boarding school. It was here that she first honed her craft, participating in school plays and learning about the art of performance. Her natural talent and dedication quickly became evident, and she decided to further her studies at the John Murray Anderson School of Theater in New York City, one of the most prestigious acting schools at the time. Betty's time at the John Murray Anderson School was crucial in shaping her as an actress. She trained under renowned teachers who helped her develop her skills and techniques. She learned the importance of understanding her characters, finding emotional truth in her performances, and using her physical presence to convey her roles effectively. Her training emphasized the need for hard work, discipline, and a deep understanding of the craft, lessons that would serve her well throughout her career. In 1929, Betty made her professional stage debut in the off-Broadway play The Earth Between, followed by her Broadway debut in Broken Dishes. While her roles in these early productions were small, they provided valuable experience and exposure. Betty's stage presence and strong, expressive features quickly caught the attention of critics and audiences alike. Her performances were marked by a raw intensity and a commitment to her characters, traits that would become her trademarks. Despite the modest beginnings of her stage career, Betty was determined to succeed. She worked tirelessly to improve her craft and took on a variety of roles that challenged her and helped her grow as an actress. Her perseverance paid off when she landed a part in the Broadway production of Solid South in 1930. Though the play itself was not a major success, Betty's performance received positive reviews, and she caught the eye of talent scouts from Hollywood. It wasn't long before Betty's talent led her to the silver screen. In 1930, she was signed by Universal Studios, marking the beginning of her film career. Although her transition to Hollywood wasn't without its challenges, her first screen test was deemed unsuccessful and she was nearly sent back to New York. Betty's determination and passion for acting kept her going. She persevered through the initial struggles and setbacks, gradually making a name for herself in the industry. Rough road to Hollywood. Bette Davis's entry into Hollywood was anything but smooth. When she first arrived in Los Angeles in 1930, she faced an industry that was not quite ready to embrace her unique talent and unconventional beauty. Unlike many of the glamorous leading ladies of the time, Betty had a distinct look and intense energy that set her apart. Despite these differences, she was determined to make her mark in the film industry. Her early days in Hollywood were challenging. After being signed by Universal Studios, Betty faced a series of disappointments. Her first screen test was a disaster, largely due to a lack of proper lighting and makeup, which failed to showcase her features. The studio executives were unimpressed, and there was talk of sending her back to New York. Betty's mother, Ruthie, who had accompanied her to Hollywood, reportedly found their new life daunting, but Betty was resolute. She was determined to prove herself, even in the face of rejection. Betty's first film role came in 1931 with Bad Sister, where she played a minor part. While the movie itself didn't make waves, it was a start. She continued to appear in small roles in films like Seed and Waterloo Bridge, but none of these roles gave her the opportunity to showcase her true potential. During this period, Betty struggled to find her footing in an industry that seemed uninterested in the kind of raw, emotional performances she wanted to deliver. She often felt typecast and underutilized, relegated to playing secondary characters that didn't challenge her. In 1932, Betty's fortunes began to change when she was loaned to RKO Pictures for the film The Man Who Played God. This role marked a turning point in her career. She played Grace Blair, a young woman who falls in love with a deaf pianist. Her performance was well received, and it was the first time critics and audiences took notice of her talent. Although it wasn't a starring role, it allowed Betty to demonstrate her emotional depth and acting range. The positive reception encouraged her, and she began to believe that she could succeed in Hollywood. Betty's real breakthrough came in 1934 with the film Of Human Bondage. She played the role of Mildred Rogers, a vulgar and manipulative waitress who entangled the protagonist in a destructive relationship. This was a daring and unconventional role, especially for a young actress trying to establish herself in the industry. Betty's portrayal of Mildred was raw, unglamorous, and deeply compelling. She brought a level of intensity and realism to the character that was rare in Hollywood at the time. Her performance was so powerful that it led to a widespread campaign among critics and fans for her to receive an Academy Award nomination, even though she hadn't been initially considered. While she didn't win, the outcry highlighted the industry's recognition of her talent. Following Of Human Bondage, Betty Davis secured her first Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Dangerous, 1935. She played Joyce Heath, a troubled actress whose career is in decline. This performance solidified her status as a rising star in Hollywood. It also marked the beginning of a period where she would consistently take on challenging and complex roles, often playing characters who were flawed, intense, and emotionally volatile. Throughout these early years, Betty faced significant challenges. She was frequently at odds with studio executives who wanted to mold her into a more conventional star. She resisted these pressures, insisting on taking on roles that interested her, even if they were not glamorous or traditionally feminine. Her willingness to tackle unsympathetic and complex characters set her apart from her contemporaries and established her reputation as a serious actress who was unafraid to take risks. Betty Davis, the icon. To truly understand how good Betty Davis was as an actress, it's essential to delve into her key films and performances that not only defined her career, but also set her apart from her peers. Betty Davis was exceptional in her ability to portray complex characters with remarkable depth and nuance, a skill that made her one of the most respected and admired actresses of her time. One of her standout performances came in the 1938 film Jezebel. In this movie, Betty played Julie Marsden, a headstrong Southern belle who defies societal expectations. The role required her to embody a woman who is both charming and manipulative, passionate yet flawed. Betty's portrayal of Julie was nothing short of mesmerizing. She captured the character's fierce independence and vulnerability, creating a layered performance that earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. This role proved just how talented she was to the entire world, as she convincingly brought to life a character who could easily have been seen as unsympathetic. Instead, Betty made Julie compelling and real, showcasing her incredible range as an actress. Another iconic performance was in Dark Victory, 1939, where Betty played Judith Traherne, a young socialite diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. This role demanded a delicate balance of strength and fragility as Judith grapples with her impending death. Betty's portrayal was deeply moving and profoundly human. She conveyed Judith's fear, denial, and ultimate acceptance with such authenticity that it resonated with audiences and critics alike. Her performance in Dark Victory demonstrated her unparalleled ability to convey complex emotions and make her characters relatable, even in extraordinary circumstances. It further cemented her reputation as an actress of immense talent and emotional depth. But that was not the end. In All About Eve, 1950, Betty delivered one of the most celebrated performances of her career. She played Margot Channing, an aging Broadway star facing the harsh realities of getting older in a youth-obsessed industry. Margot is a character full of sharp wit, insecurity, and vulnerability. Betty's performance was a masterclass in blending humor with pathos. She brought Margot to life with a biting wit and a deep sense of humanity, making her both larger-than-life and profoundly relatable. The role showcased Betty's exceptional skill in portraying strong, assertive women while also exposing their vulnerabilities. Her line, "Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night," delivered with perfect timing and tone, became iconic and is still remembered today.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
This performance earned her another Academy Award nomination and solidified her status as one of the greatest actresses in film history. But when it came to the film Now Voyager 1942, Betty took on the role of Charlotte Vale, a repressed and lonely woman who transforms into a confident and self-assured person. The film explores themes of self-discovery, empowerment, and love. Betty's portrayal of Charlotte's journey from insecurity to empowerment was captivating. She skillfully depicted Charlotte's evolution, making the character's transformation believable and deeply affecting. The famous scene where Charlotte declines a marriage proposal saying, "Oh, Jerry, don't let's ask for the moon. We have the stars."
Oh, Jerry, don't let's ask for the moon. We have the stars.
This was an amazing moment that highlighted Betty's ability to convey complex emotions with subtlety and grace. Her performance in Now Voyager showed some of her range and her capacity to breathe life into characters with rich inner lives. These performances, among many others, illustrate just how good Betty Davis was as an actress. She had a unique talent for portraying complex, multidimensional characters with depth and nuance. Whether she was playing a defiant Southern belle, a doomed socialite, an aging actress, or a woman finding her strength, Betty brought remarkable intensity and authenticity to her roles. She was fearless in her choice of characters, often opting for challenging and unconventional roles that other actresses might have shied away from. Betty Davis's ability to fully inhabit her characters and bring their stories to life on screen is what truly set her apart in Hollywood. She wasn't just good, she was exceptional, consistently delivering performances that were both captivating and unforgettable. Betty's unique acting style. Betty Davis's acting style was as distinctive as it was compelling, setting her apart as one of the most talented actresses in Hollywood's golden age. Her unique approach to acting, characterized by her distinctive voice, expressive eyes, and dramatic flair, made her performances unforgettable and established her as a master of her craft. In evaluating how good Betty Davis actually was, one cannot overlook these signature elements that defined her style. One of the most immediately recognizable aspects of Betty Davis's acting was her voice. Unlike many of her contemporaries who often adopted soft and melodious tones, Betty's voice was sharp, commanding, and full of character. She had a distinctive delivery that could convey a wide range of emotions, from icy disdain to heartfelt vulnerability. Her voice could be both authoritative and seductive, depending on the needs of the character. This vocal versatility allowed her to tackle a variety of roles, from the haughty Southern belle in Jezebel to the confident and witty Margot Channing in All About Eve. Her ability to modulate her voice to suit her character's mood and situation was a hallmark of her talent, making her dialogue delivery always captivating. Betty's expressive eyes were another key element of her acting style. She possessed a remarkable ability to convey complex emotions with just a glance. Her eyes could be piercing and intense, conveying a steely determination or a fiery rage. They could also be soft and tender, revealing the vulnerability or longing of her characters. This expressive quality was particularly evident in close-up shots where her eyes could communicate volumes without a single word spoken. Whether she was playing a tormented woman on the brink of despair or a scheming, manipulative character, her eyes always told a deeper story, adding layers to her performances. This ability to use her eyes so effectively was a testament to her deep understanding of her characters and her skill as a nuanced performer. Regardless of all of these, the most fascinating thing about Bette Davis on screen was her incredibly dramatic flair. She had a theatrical presence that made her performances larger than life. Bette wasn't afraid to fully embrace the drama of her roles, often adding bold gestures, intense facial expressions, and dynamic physicality to her characters. She had a talent for making even the most ordinary moments feel charged with emotion and significance. Her dramatic approach was never over the top, but rather a calculated choice that amplified the emotional stakes of a scene. This flair for drama made her particularly compelling in roles that required a strong, commanding presence, such as the ambitious actress in The Star or the vengeful queen in The Virgin Queen. Bette Davis's approach to her craft was also deeply influenced by method acting, a technique that emphasizes the emotional truth and psychological depth of a character. She was known for her meticulous preparation for roles, often immersing herself in the lives and experiences of her characters. Bette believed in thoroughly understanding the background, motivations, and psychology of the people she portrayed. This dedication to authenticity sometimes led her to make bold and unconventional choices. For example, in Of Human Bondage, she insisted on appearing on screen without makeup to accurately portray the character's decline, a move that was virtually unheard of for leading ladies at the time. Her commitment to method acting extended to her physical transformation for roles. Bette often altered her appearance, voice, and mannerisms to suit her characters. She was known for her willingness to go to great lengths to achieve the right look and feel for a part, whether it meant adopting a specific hairstyle or costume, or even changing her physical demeanor. This level of dedication demonstrated her respect for the craft and her desire to fully inhabit her roles, making each of her performances a unique and fully realized portrayal. Bette Davis's unique acting style and techniques were crucial in shaping her career and establishing her reputation as one of the greatest actresses of all time. Her distinctive voice, expressive eyes, dramatic flair, and commitment to method acting allowed her to create complex, multi-dimensional characters that resonated with audiences. These elements combined to make her performances not only believable, but also deeply affecting and memorable. Bette's ability to bring such depth and nuance to her roles set her apart from her peers and solidified her place in the pantheon of acting legends. In reflecting on how good Bette Davis actually was, it is clear that her exceptional talent and unique approach to her craft made her a truly remarkable actress, whose impact continues to be felt in the world of film. Other perceptions about Bette Davis. Bette Davis's career was characterized by an ongoing dialogue between critics and audiences, with both praise and criticism reflecting the extent of her work and the era's cultural expectations. As one of Hollywood's most distinguished actresses, she drew intense scrutiny for her performances, and her bold choices often sparked strong reactions, both positive and negative. From the early days of her career, Bette Davis received accolades for her unique talent and powerful screen presence. Her performance in Jezebel 1938 earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress, solidifying her reputation as a leading lady capable of commanding the screen. The New York Times praised her portrayal, noting, "Miss Davis does an eloquent, sensitive job with the part." Her ability to portray strong, independent women was frequently highlighted, and she quickly became known for her intense, compelling performances. Critics admired her willingness to play unsympathetic or controversial characters, a rarity for actresses of her time. In 1939, her role in Dark Victory garnered widespread acclaim. Frank S. Nugent of the New York Times wrote, Bette Davis's performance is as sensitive and persuasive a study as she has ever done. This highlights her nuanced portrayal of a woman facing a terminal illness. Similarly, Now, Voyager, 1942, was a critical success, with Variety describing her performance as superb. These roles showcased her depth and versatility, further establishing her as a formidable talent. But all these aside, make no mistake, Bette Davis also faced significant criticism throughout her career. Some of this criticism stemmed from her strong-willed personality and refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations. She was known for clashing with studio executives, particularly during her time at Warner Brothers. Her insistence on creative control and quality roles often put her at odds with the industry's power structures. In one notable instance, she sued Warner Brothers in 1937, seeking to break her contract to pursue more challenging roles, a move that was highly controversial at the time. Although she lost the case, it underscored her commitment to her craft and her willingness to take risks. Critics sometimes found fault with her performances, particularly when her characters were seen as too abrasive or unlikable. In The Little Foxes, 1941, her portrayal of the ruthless Regina Giddens was met with mixed reviews. While many praised her for embracing the character's coldness, some felt she went too far in making Regina unsympathetic. The Hollywood Reporter noted that Davis was too conscious of the villainy in her role, suggesting that she could sometimes overplay her parts. Her later career also drew mixed responses. As she aged, Bette continued to take on challenging roles, refusing to be typecast or sidelined. However, some critics and audiences were less receptive to her later work, often preferring the more glamorous or romantic roles typical of younger actresses. In Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962, Davis's portrayal of the grotesque and mentally unstable former child star Baby Jane Hudson was polarizing. While the performance was widely acclaimed, earning her a 10th Academy Award nomination, some found the film's dark tone and her character's grotesque nature unsettling. Bosley Crowther of the New York Times described the film as a gruesome and grotesque piece of motion picture entertainment, but acknowledged that Davis gave a bold and brazen performance.
When the rumors about Clara Bow surfaced, it was the most terrible thing that had ever happened to her career. In a bid to shut the mouth of the only person who knew her secrets, she ended up in court, and all the secrets became public knowledge. Soon the public knew about all the orgies and threesomes she had with random men, and how she even willingly had intercourse with a dog. Are all of these just rumors, or is there some truth in there? Sadly, Clara is just one of the plethora of Hollywood stars who suffered from nasty rumors being peddled about them. This video would delve into some of the nasty rumors from the golden age of Hollywood. Some of them get pretty dark, others are shocking or just plain creepy. Brace yourself. The suspicious demise of Thomas Ince. Like the saying goes, love makes you do stupid things, but just how far would one go for love? Allegedly, on a beautiful boat in the middle of the ocean, someone proved just how far they were willing to go for someone they loved, and it ended quite terribly for Thomas Ince. But if you're wondering who Thomas Ince is, it's okay if you don't know him. He was a man who did not mind being known because he worked behind the camera and was one of the biggest pioneers in Hollywood. He created one of the first standard movie studios, and it has all of the complete sets, light, and sound stages. Ince's company grew very successful, and it is what is known today as MGM Studios. But after a while, Thomas probably got a bit bored and decided to sell the company, which he did for a whopping undisclosed sum. Now that it was all over, everyone expected that he would retire, but he went ahead to start another studio called Paramount Pictures, and he sold that as well, too. However, in 1942, business was not going very well for Thomas, and he was almost at the verge of bankruptcy. But Thomas tried not to let it bother him too much. He tried to focus on things that would make him happy. So for his 42nd birthday, he insisted on throwing a big party to distract himself a little bit. His very good friend, William Randolph Hearst, was so much in support of this idea that he decided to borrow Thomas his boat for the party. It was perfect. Thomas went ahead to invite a few people, including Hearst and Charlie Chaplin, who just wanted to have a good time. There were drinks, food, and lots of girls, but sadly, this night turned ugly really fast. After dinner that night, the official reports say that Thomas had a terrible case of indigestion, and it got so bad they had to stop at Los Angeles and have him see a doctor who examined him and sent him home afterward. But the very next day, Toma was gone, and the official report says it was a case of heart failure. But was it? Rumors and speculations began to spread as to what people thought the true cause of his demise was. According to the rumors, it was not indigestion or even heart failure, but Thomas was shot. How? Well, it was speculated that Hearst walked into Charlie Chaplin getting a little frisky with Hearst's mistress, Davies, and in a fit of jealous rage, he pulled out his gun, aimed it at Charlie, and pulled the trigger. Unfortunately, he missed, and the bullet hit Thomas instead. Was this what truly happened? No one knows for sure, but Thomas was hurriedly cremated after his demise, and a witness who had seen the whole thing was immediately awarded a contract. On one hand, all these seem a little too organized and planned, but on the other hand, it could all be just one big coincidence. Judy Garland's abuse. By any stretch of the imagination, she is an amazing singer and an incredible actor. Best known for her role in The Wizard of Oz, Judy has made herself more than just the girl next door, but a Hollywood star and icon worth mentioning. But behind the scenes of her life, something horrible was going on, and none of her fans had a clue. One day at the vaudeville circuit, when Judy was just about 13 years old, the co-founder of MGM Studios, Louis B. Mayer, heard her sing and was simply taken aback by Judy's amazing talent. At that point, Mayer knew there was something special about Judy and was determined to make an even bigger star out of her. As a matter of fact, Mayer did not even care if Judy could act or not. She wanted to work with her. Mayer was even quoted to say that he did not care what Judy looked like. All he cared about was what she sounded like. That statement right there later became the biggest irony in Judy's life because by the time Judy turned 14, her size became a cause of concern for the studio, so much so that rumors had it that they tried to restrict her diet so much that it pushed her to a life of depression and depending on drugs. She was allegedly called all sorts of names by some people in the studio, including fat little pig with pigtails. Even after her first movie came out, rumor has it that the bullying didn't stop. The studio decided to put her on a strict diet, but this was not an issue. The issue was that the studio became allegedly abusive about it. They would go as far as serving her food and taking it right back from her before she even touched it, all in a bid to tease and torture her. Even after she got married to her husband at 18, she was 4'11" and 98 pounds. The studio seemed to agree that her weight was acceptable, but behind closed doors, rumor has it that they intensified Judy's diet. They wanted to maintain her weight, so she was strictly restricted to only chicken soup, black coffee, and pills designed to suppress her appetite, which she was being forced to take every 4 hours. On top of all these, the rumors say that she was even forced to take up to 80 cigarettes a day. Sadly, all of these took a toll on her and forced her into a life of pills and drugs, so much so that at 37 years of age, she was medically pronounced as permanent semi-invalid. While a lot of people believe that her condition was due to other factors, rumors and speculation point fingers at her studio. Howard Strickling was an evil fixer. You know those movies where there's a character that is the go-to when a problem needs to be solved? They are just a call away, and no matter how terrible the problem is, they can just magically make it go away. Well, this is kind of how Howard Strickling was back in the day. As the head of publicity for MGM Studios, how actors and actresses were perceived was very important to him, and he was in charge of presenting them in a way that they would be loved and accepted. But there was a small problem. The Hollywood industry had a very specific way they wanted actresses to look and be presented, and as such, studios needed to give the fans what they wanted. The bad news, however, was that this mostly affected actresses as they had to always be perceived as beautiful, perfect, and undefiled. Therefore, when a young actress in the studio got pregnant, it had to be taken care of discreetly so their image and reputation could be protected. Rumor had it that Howard was the go-to guy if anyone in the industry wanted to get a discreet abortion. As a matter of fact, sometimes he did not give them a choice in the matter. When an actress was doing great and suddenly becomes pregnant, it becomes bad for business, so it was speculated that Howard would force them into doing abortions so the studio could continue making money off them. According to rumors, A lot of actresses and female celebrities had Howard on speed dial just in case their drunken night at the party became a bit more serious. Names like Judy Garland, Jean Harlow, Joan Crawford, and even Bette Davis. Funny enough, when Davis eventually had children, she was reportedly shocked that she could conceive even after all the abortions she had done, facilitated by Howard Strickling. A lot of other actresses reportedly looked to Howard as the go-to guy for abortions. He would allegedly introduce them to his friend nicknamed Dr. Killcare. Whether these rumors are true or not is yet to be determined, but it is definitely a cause for concern. Fatty Arbuckle's controversial murder trial. It was Labor Day in 1921. Everything was going great at this party. There were distinguished guests, booze, music, and everything a part needed, but just a few hours into the night, something terrible happened. Until today, no one can truly explain it. It was Hollywood's first high-profile scandal, and a cause for a lot of rumors and speculations. The character, Fatty Arbuckle, and the beautiful Virginia Rappa. Fatty was a very successful Hollywood star, a comedian who pulled crowds from far and wide, so much so that he became the first comedian millionaire. But his career took a dramatic turn for the worst when at a Labor Day party in 1921, he was with talented actress Rapp, when according to him, she began to complain that she was exhausted and needed to go lie down. Still, according to Fatty, he took her upstairs to a hotel room to lie down and catch her breath. A few hours later, Rapp's scream could be heard, and people ran into the room to see her laying on the floor. She was gone. Everyone got into a frenzy and began to speculate that Fatty had tried to force himself on her but took her life when she refused. But he claimed he was in the bathroom when she screamed and fell down. However, Rapp's last words, when she was found, were, "He did this to me." And so the matter went to trial. There were no signs of any force. She was fully dressed when she was found, and eventually, after 3 long trials, Fatty was acquitted. But it was too late. His career was over. The question remains, did he really do it, or was he innocent? No one knows for sure. Errol Flynn's creepy relationship with underage girls. The more you listen to this particular story, the creepier and weirder it gets. According to reports, Flynn was not the most straightforward man, and he was involved in so many things that would make your skin crawl. 48 years old and married with a successful career in Hollywood, one would assume Flynn would be happy and content with his life. But despite how good his life was, he was reportedly hooking up with 15-year-old Beverly Adland, and rumor had it that this union was nowhere near consensual. However, Adland reportedly mentioned that she eventually fell in love with him and they would travel the world together. According to her, their relationship was wild and fun. When these two unlikely couples first met, Flynn's career was not doing so great. He was in the middle of child support battles with his ex-wives, a known drunk, and even accused of inappropriate relations with 2 other underage girls. Rumor had it that in a bid to boost his recognition and career in the creepiest way, he and Adland would pretend to be in a toxic relationship. He would pretend to beat her up in public, and she would use ketchup to imitate blood. Eventually, people got talking about it, and it brought the press back to his doorstep, just like he wanted. Is there truth to all these, or is it a little too far-fetched? Your theory is as good as mine. Clara Bow was sex-crazed? The early 1920s were a very conservative period in Hollywood, but Clara Bow, the Hollywood it girl at the time, made it to the tabloids, and the nastiest of rumors and speculations were spewed about her. It all started when Bow had a falling out with her secretary, Daisy DeVoe, which forced the secretary to quit her job and walk away, taking a lot of files that belonged to Bow with her. These files contained a lot of Bow's personal information, and Daisy, having worked very closely with her boss all this time, knew some secrets that could ruin her. So after a while, Daisy began to blackmail Bow, and the actress was not having it. She sued her former secretary, but the move backfired horribly when in court, all the secrets reportedly came out, and the tabloids had a field day. It was speculated that Bow would sleep with anything and anyone, including having orgies with an entire football team, hooking up with married men, and even sleeping with a dog. Hopefully these rumors aren't true, but you never know. Natalie Wood's tyrant mother. Based on a lot of rumors and speculations, Natalie Wood did not really have the best of childhoods. Because her father was gone before she grew old enough to know him, Natalie's mother was in control of her life and that of her sister, and she held them with an iron fist. Natalie's mother, Maria, was a Russian immigrant who was determined to see her daughters succeed in Hollywood. She became Natalie's manager, controlling her career and personal life from a young age. Maria pushed Natalie into acting and was highly involved in her professional decisions, often prioritizing Natalie's career over her emotional well-being. According to reports, the pressure Natalie faced from her mother led to a strained relationship between them. Natalie felt controlled and restricted, unable to make her own choices and decisions. Maria's demanding nature and high expectations placed a considerable amount of stress on Natalie, contributing to feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. Her mother would reportedly go as far as pimping her out to older men in exchange for movie roles. As Natalie entered adulthood and gained independence, she sought to break free from her mother's influence. She attempted to exert control over her own life and career, which created further tension between them. This strained relationship with her mother affected Natalie's ability to establish healthy boundaries and form trusting relationships with others. Could there be truth to all of these speculations? Could a mother abuse her own daughter in this way? The answer is still at large. How Olive Thomas took her own life. Olive Thomas was an American silent film actress who rose to prominence in the 1910s. Tragically, her life was cut short at the age of 25 in 1920 under mysterious circumstances. While there have been various rumors and speculations surrounding Olive Thomas, one particularly nasty rumor that emerged after her demise involved allegations of her engaging in immoral or scandalous behavior. One of the most persistent rumors about Olive Thomas was that she took her life from poisoning as a result of excessive drug use or an intentional overdose. This rumor gained traction due to the prevalence of drug use among some individuals in the entertainment industry during that time. However, there is still no substantial evidence to support these claims. Jeanette MacDonald was in a tragic love triangle. This one is a story of love, betrayal, and heartbreak between three legendary figures, Louis B. Mayer, Jeanette MacDonald, and Nelson Eddy. It's the golden age of Hollywood, and the studio system reigns supreme. Louis B. Mayer, the powerful head of MGM, ruled with an iron fist, and he held the fate of actors like Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy in the palm of his hand. The stars shone brightly under the studio's roof, but they were also ensnared in tight contracts, leaving little room for personal freedom. Enter Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy, two gifted performers who found themselves constantly paired together in the studio's beloved musicals. Though never officially married, their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, and off-screen, they were the loves of each other's lives. But this love story was a source of immense frustration for Mayer, who feared their union would overshadow their lucrative careers. In the summer of 1935, fate took an unexpected turn. MacDonald discovered she was carrying Eddy's baby. This was a scandal waiting to explode. Mayer was horrified at the prospect of unwed stars and the potential impact on their star power. This was exactly what he had been trying to avoid. So he hatched a chilling plan worthy of a Hollywood villain. According to the whispered rumors, Mayer allegedly forced MacDonald to have an abortion, using his power and influence to control her fate. Threatening to blacklist both her and Eddy, he left her no choice but to comply. It was a heartbreaking decision for MacDonald, torn between love and career, and Mayer held her future in his merciless hands. But as it turns out, a more tragic thing occurred. MacDonald suffered a miscarriage, losing the child she never wanted to lose. But fate had one last cruel twist in store. Both Eddy and Mayer, unaware of the truth, assumed she had indeed gone through with the abortion, leading Eddy to end their relationship. Mayer, in his twisted joy, pushed MacDonald to work even harder, using her sorrow as leverage to trap her in more movie contracts. Mayer's obsession with keeping the pair apart knew no bounds. He allegedly made chilling threats against Eddy's life, desperate to maintain control over his star's actions. Rumor has it he even went so far as to sabotage Eddy's car, hoping to send a clear and deadly message. Charles Laughton had a feces fetish? Laughton harbored a secretive desire that would make your jaw drop. According to the audacious accounts of Scotty Bowers, the actor made a rather peculiar request. He wanted Bowers, a popular Hollywood fixer, to arrange a special encounter with a hot young man while his wife was away. But that was not even the nasty part, because this rendezvous involved something quite unexpected, a sandwich-making session like no other. According to Bowers' memoir, here's how the night went. Bowers arrives at Laughton's abode, accompanied by the young man in question. Little do they know that their afternoon is about to take a bizarre turn. As soon as they set foot inside, Laughton springs into action, whipping up a sandwich with the enthusiasm of a culinary master. At first, nothing seemed off. It was just a sandwich with lettuce, tomatoes, sourdough bread, lemon juice, salt, and pepper. Laughton crafts the sandwich with meticulous care. But here's where things take an unexpected twist. In a move that no one could have predicted, the actor takes the bread slices in one hand and a pot in the other. Then he asks the young man to follow him into the bathroom. As the young man and Laughton ventured into the bathroom, the curiosity in the air is palpable. What on earth could be going on in there? Seconds ticked by, and finally, Charles Laughton emerges from the bathroom looking ever so nonchalant. He placed the plate with the assembled sandwich on the kitchen table, and that's when the astonishing revelation comes to light. Scotty Bowers, wide-eyed and curious, notices something peculiar about the lettuce and tomatoes on the sandwich. They've been lightly smeared with a mysterious brow substance. Seconds later, the young man, let's call him Ted, reappears in the kitchen. But something had changed. His previous excitement had vanished, replaced by sheepishness and even a hint of embarrassment. Bowers can't help but stare curiously at Ted, who pulls a face, hoping Laughton won't catch on to what's just happened. And in an unforgettable moment, Ted points at the sandwich on the plate and lightly pats his backside. That's when it all came together. The brown substance on the bread was Ted's feces, and believe it or not, right before their eyes, Charles Laughton does the unthinkable. He takes a bite of the sandwich. William Taylor was killed by a mob hitman. The circumstances around the demise of William Taylor are both mysterious and sketchy. There are so many theories and speculations. How did he really pass on? Let's rewind to February 1st, 1921, a fateful night that would forever change Hollywood's history. Taylor met with his girlfriend and talented comedian Mabel Normand at his Los Angeles home. They bid each other goodnight at 7:45 p.m., seemingly like any other evening in the City of Stars. However, the next morning at 7:30 a.m., Taylor's valet made a grisly discovery. The director's lifeless body lay in the front room, pierced by a fatal bullet through his back. The facts may be straightforward, but the cast of potential suspects paints a complex and intriguing portrait. As the LAPD and Hollywood gossip columnists descended on the case, the list of suspects grew longer than the credits of a blockbuster movie. Mabel Normand found herself under scrutiny, discovered rummaging through Taylor's belongings at the crime scene, which raised eyebrows and suspicions. Adding to the intrigue was Mary Miles Minter, a rising starlet whose infatuation with Taylor had reached obsessive heights. Blonde hairs matching Minter's were found on Taylor's jacket, adding a dramatic twist to the investigation. And then there was Edward Sands, one of Taylor's former servants, whose suspicious behavior came to light. He had stolen a considerable sum of $5,000 from the director and had been lurking around Taylor in the days leading up to his demise. The motive appeared to be rooted in betrayal and revenge, but the plot thickens even further when we dive into the world of Hollywood's dark underbelly, the mob, and its lucrative drug racket. Taylor, an anti-drug campaigner, had discovered the sinister dealings of drug pushers operating around film sets, ensnaring stars like Normand in their dangerous web. His determination to save Mabel led him to expose the mob's activities, and even tipped off the FBI, cracking down on their illicit business. Could this be why he was killed? Could this act of heroism have sealed his fate? Some speculate that the mob bosses, furious at Taylor's interference with their drug enterprise, may have sent a hitman to silence him forever. In the land of make-believe, truth and fiction often blur, and this theory adds a haunting layer of darkness to an already mysterious case. Some would suggest that if you looked closer, there is some truth to all of these. Even if you have $4 million in the bank, you can't buy another liver. These were the words that George Maharis said in an interview when he realized that he had an illness that could potentially put an end to his life. At the time, he was on top of his game in Hollywood, but now he had no other choice but to leave. Seems simple enough, but Hollywood wasn't done with him yet, and so they decided to fight and force him to stay even when he didn't want to. George was devastated. The producers at Route 66 were determined not to let him go. The battle line was drawn. How did it all pan out? Let's find out. Little beginnings. He was a natural-born singer, ready to take on the music industry. But all his dreams of being a musician came crashing down when he damaged his vocal cords. This rather unfortunate event would lead him to the very craft that changed his life forever. The talented star George Maharis was born in Astoria, Queens. He had a lot of siblings, as he was the third child out of 7 in his family. Unfortunately, his parents were not financially equipped to take care of him and his siblings. They were struggling initially to make ends meet. He did not exactly grow up in a wealthy home, but his parents had always tried to do their best to take care of him and his other 5 siblings. They had migrated from Greece in search of a better life for their family, and they worked hard for it. Growing up, George was a fairly good kid. He did as his parents asked and never got into any sort of serious trouble. So when it was time to start high school, his parents were assured that George would make them proud. He was enrolled in Flushing High School, where his classmates noticed his singing talent. But if he was being honest with himself, George did not really like school. Education did not appeal to him, but his immigrant parents would not watch him throw his life away, so they agreed on a compromise. Although he didn't finish school, George later joined the United States Marine Corps for 18 months. After that, he earned his high school diploma. Solid compromise, but George still had a gaping hole in his heart. He had a passion for singing, and he would be better off pursuing that. So he decided to pursue a career in singing, but he quickly realized that pursuing a singing career was not exactly lucrative. Also, he was said to have undergone improper vocal lessons that damaged his vocal cords. When this happened, he knew for a fact that he could not pursue a singing career in the long run. He later picked up another interest in not just entertainment but acting, and he appeared in musicals outside of New York City. His first acting opportunity came on the TV show Mr. Peepers, where he played a funny version of Marlon Brando. Now the trajectory of his career had changed. He decided he was fascinated by acting, and so he studied at the Actors Studio with Sanford Meisner and Lee Strasberg. His dream was simple: learn all he can and dominate Hollywood. If only it were that easy. Route 66, his big break. A few years after learning in acting school, George came out energetic and ready to take on Hollywood, but no one told him that nothing was handed to anyone on a platter of gold. So, like a lot of other aspirants, George Maharis had to start from scratch and work on several acting gigs here and there, but nothing solid enough to put his name on the map. But he kept at it and hoped that one day he would get his big break. Sure enough, in 1960, Maharis starred alongside Martin Milner in the TV series Route 66, which aired on CBS, and as one would expect, he played the role with all of his might, and people noticed. His performance was recognized with an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Series in 1962. He was the happiest man in the world when the praises and accolades started rolling in. His dream was coming through before his very eyes. Months later, Maharis had appeared in about 82 episodes when health issues began to come for him, including a serious case of hepatitis. The next line of action was clear. He had to leave the show. Everyone, both fans and studio producers alike, were sad to see him leave, but after he left, he dedicated his life to making a good recovery and perhaps coming back to work. Once again, fate smiled at him. In 1962, George was healthy enough to come back to work. He had made a full and fast recovery, and when asked how he did it, he claimed that abstaining from alcohol was what helped. But now, things were a little different at work. The work hours were brutal, and he just could not keep up. So again, George had to leave, as it was taking a toll on his health. In an interview, George was asked why he decided to leave again, and his answer was simple and short. He said, "I have to protect my future. I keep going at the present pace. I'm a fool." But after working with them all this while, the Route 66 producers would not let George go just like that, and so they put up a fight, a rather aggressive fight, Maharis versus Route 66. When the producers found out that George was leaving, they resorted to starting a legal battle that he didn't see coming. Initially, Maharis didn't seek other employment, but once the producers replaced him for the next season, he began booking other engagements. He had been scheduled to appear on The Ed Sullivan Show in June 1963, but the Route 66 producers, claiming he was still under an exclusive contract, prevented his appearance through legal action. They accused him of faking illness to break his contract. One person even accused Maharis of prioritizing a film career over his loyalty to the company, his co-star, and the rest of the show's cast and crew. Maharis argued that times had changed and companies couldn't treat actors as mere commodities. He eventually won the legal battle, proving that his contract was invalid. Despite attempts at reconciliation from the Route 66 producers, Maharis made his first TV appearance after leaving the show on July 2, 1963. After his departure, the show's popularity declined, and it was ultimately canceled in March 1964, the fate that the producers were trying to escape. But sadly, now it was too late. Even though George had won the case, after a while he figured the acting industry was a bit too toxic for him, and then he remembered he had other interesting talents as well. In that pivotal moment, his spirit ignited, and he found himself on a profound journey of self-discovery that revealed a gift that had laid dormant within him for years, the exploration phase. It was almost as though Maharis just remembered he could sing. This single realization was the beginning of a memorable music career. Instantly, he decided to take a break from the acting scene and plunge into singing with as much excellence as he could, and the results were simply astonishing. Early in his career, Maharis released albums and singles through Epic Records. His first album, titled George Maharis Sings, had a notable presence on Billboard's album chart in 1962, staying for 29 weeks and reaching number 10. It ended up being the 41st most popular album of the year. One of his singles, Teach Me Tonight, achieved moderate success. It spent 11 weeks on the Billboard charts in 1962, reaching number 25 on the Hot 100 and number 8 on the Easy Listening chart. Another single, Love Me As I Love You, reached number 17 on the Easy Listening chart in September 1962. In 1963, Maharis made his singing debut on television, appearing on The Judy Garland Show. He performed the song Side by Side alongside Judy Garland. But all of these successes were not enough for him. He was on a roll now, and so later on, he decided to expand his career into something a bit different. Maharis began performing in nightclubs and pursuing a newfound passion for painting. As of 2008, he continued to paint, dividing his time between New York City and Beverly Hills, California. But just like many Hollywood stars, Maharis found himself bearing the brunt of his scandalous life. More legal issues. Unfortunately, even though George had lived a life free of drama and scandals, this feat would later be supplanted. Now, George began to live life on the edge and on the fast lane. Sadly, it got him inevitably in trouble. In 1967, George was arrested on charges of lewd conduct, but that was not all, because in 1974 he was arrested on charges of perversion for using the men's bathroom as a place of inappropriate behavior and intercourse. However, those charges were eventually dismissed, but in 1967 and 1975 he was back in cuffs again for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Thankfully, they were misdemeanor offenses, and so he pled guilty. One would only wonder where all these behaviors came from. But after 1975, George stayed away from trouble and lived a fairly normal and quiet life, but sadly, no one can run from the jaws of inevitability, the sad demise. By now, George Maharis had lived a good life. He had left a mark and retired to his home in Beverly Hills. But even at that, no one was fully prepared for what came next. It was May 24th, 2023, when Maharis finally passed at the age of 94. On one hand, he was mourned by those who loved and cherished him, but on the other, it called for a celebration of a life well lived. Picture this. You're an aspiring actor, fresh off the bus in Los Angeles, starry-eyed with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. The palm trees, the mansions, the red carpets, it's everything you've ever dreamed of. But there's a shadowy side to this city of dreams, secrets that the top Hollywood producers whisper about behind closed doors. You start hearing whispers, murmurs of certain practices, certain topics Hollywood producers will never dare discuss publicly. Why? Because acknowledging them could shatter the very foundation of the entertainment industry. It's more than just the casting couch or the competitive nature of auditions. It's something deeper, more sinister. You think to yourself, is this the price of fame? Are these the unspoken rules I must navigate? Dive with me into the enigmatic underbelly of Hollywood, where we unveil what producers won't ever talk about. This might just be the most riveting story you've never heard. They manipulate contracts, read the fine print, everyone advises, but when you are an aspiring and talented actor trying to break into the Hollywood industry, you may not really care about agreements or the fine print. All you want is to make some money and get some recognition so you can get other opportunities. Producers know this, and sadly, they use this to their advantage and their advantage only. A lot of Hollywood producers have been known to find great actors and actresses and prey on their naivety. They work on projects with some of these actors and pay them stipends, even when the movie project does really well. By the time the actor knows what's going on, it is already too late and they have to lick their own wounds. But you do not have to take my word for it. Let's expose some of the culprits, shall we? Ever heard of the 1986 movie Aliens? Or perhaps Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in 2011, these movies were produced by the same man, John Richardson, and while he has been given a lot of accolades for his work, his dark side is that he exploits actors. One glaring example of an exploitative contract in the case of Megan Parker, a talented young actress with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. She auditioned for a supporting role in a promising independent film, only to find herself caught in a web of deceit. The producer, John Richardson, preyed on her lack of industry experience and offered her an unfair contract with unfavorable terms. The pay rate offered was well below the industry standard, and the contract included an exploitative clause that prevented her from pursuing any other acting opportunities for the duration of the film's production. Megan Parker was way too new to the game to know what she was getting herself into, but when she found out she had been ripped off, it was too late. She had signed the contract and was bound by the agreement. Another notable case where producers exploit actors is the notable case of Academy Award-winning actress Emma Thompson. However, in this case, things didn't go quite as the producer, Robert Harrison, had planned. Thompson had signed on for a leading role in a highly anticipated film, only to discover that the contract limited her creative input and forced her to accept a significantly reduced pay rate. In most other cases, actors usually bow to the whims of the producer, but Thompson was not going to take this lying down. Unwilling to compromise her artistic integrity, she took a brave stand and negotiated fiercely with Harrison, eventually securing more favorable terms and preserving her independence as an actor. Sadly, cases like this where the actor wins are usually very rare. As a matter of fact, a lot of these greedy producers get away with their exploitation and none is the wiser. According to sources, some actually love to look out for desperate yet talented young actors and then feed them soothing words about how they would become stars if they accepted the contract. They make the contract look good, and because the actor is new and has no legal representation, they sign it in excitement and eventually get trapped in the web of lies the producer has woven.
An unravelable web.
Even worse is that as many cases are out there, they are only the reported ones. There are likely to be hundreds more cases like this that never see the light of day as a result of either the actor's shame or the producer's influence. In the grand scheme of things, a lot of producers are guilty of this evil but will never share it with the world. They also force the actors, too, not to share their stories, and this is one of the dark secrets that they keep under wraps. But perhaps this is a better evil when compared to the next industry secret that producers will never tell anyone. They exchange movie roles for time in the sheets. Let's face it, Hollywood is probably the most competitive industry on the planet. Millions aspire, but only a few dozen eventually make it in. On the path leading to Hollywood success, there are a lot of obstacles and stumbling blocks in your way, and this is why we always celebrate anyone who makes it in and steals our hearts with their amazing talent. As the American dream depicts, you can make it in America if you work hard and remain persistent, right? Wrong. To a very large extent, producers have a huge influence and they decide who gets in and who doesn't. Seems reasonable, doesn't it? The only problem is that while some of these producers base the casting on talents, some do so based on other talents outside of acting. These producers reportedly prey on young women aspiring to make it in Hollywood, and they are always on the lookout for beautiful young women who are desperate enough to satisfy their sick desires. How do they do it, you ask? Well, it's said to start at some exclusive parties and events that double as their hunting grounds. They term it as exclusive parties, and almost everyone who's anyone in Hollywood shows up. Rationally, this would be Candyland for any actress aspiring to get opportunities in Hollywood, and they know this, so they simply throw this big party, And wait, sure enough, hopeful actresses show up and soon the whole place is littered with them, like moths to bright lights. And then these unscrupulous producers swing into action. They shower these hopeful actresses with attention, charm, and promises of stardom. They would say anything to get these women excited and even more hopeful. It's a deadly dance of ambition and vulnerability, and these women find themselves caught in a web where the desire for success blinds them to the hidden price they may have to pay. Allegedly, some of these producers would subtly propose a transaction between them and the talent desperate for a chance to prove themselves. The transaction is obviously outside the confines of professionalism and talent. Something more personal and intimate involves them meeting the producers at a hotel. A lot of these actresses are blindsided by this request, but by then it is too late. They are threatened if they refuse and told they will never get another opportunity with any other producer because they will badmouth and blacklist them. Given not much of a choice, these young hopefuls are lured into a deceitful trap between the devil and the deep blue sea. This occurrence is more common than most people imagine, and it is still whispered around in the industry today. The young hopefuls have no choice but to succumb and keep silent afterward, no matter how disturbed they feel about it. It also does not help that these producers are so wealthy and powerful, and so even when the producers don't eventually give them these roles, nothing is said and done against them. Silence is maintained because the victims fear the consequences of speaking up against producers so revered and respected. Producers discriminate in sharing profits. If we are being honest, we all have our favorite actors and actresses from our favorite movies. For some reason, we prefer them to all others, and we can decide to watch a movie just because they are in it. But it turns out that some Hollywood producers secretly have favorite actors in the industry, and when it comes to sharing profit, they tend to favor their favorites and give the other actors significantly lower payouts. This particular secret was still largely unknown until the controversy behind the film American Hustle. In this captivating drama, several actors embarked on a journey that would change their lives forever. Jeremy Renner and Bradley Cooper, both talented and established in their craft, stepped into the shoes of their characters, hoping to bring them to life on the silver screen. Little did they know that behind the scenes, a different script was being written, one of unequal compensation and shattered expectations. As the cameras rolled and the story unraveled, the cast of American Hustle soon discovered a startling truth. While their co-stars, Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams, basked in the glow of fame and fortune, Renner and Cooper found themselves standing in the shadows of inequity. It was revealed that they had received a significantly smaller percentage of the film's profits compared to their female counterparts. The curtain lifted, and the spotlight illuminated the dark reality that lurked beneath the film. The American Hustle profit-sharing dispute became a battle cry, echoing across the industry, shedding light on the pervasive issue of pay disparity. This real-life drama drew attention to the systemic inequities that had long plagued Hollywood. With the stage set and the truth exposed, a call for change reverberated through the hearts and minds of actors and audiences alike. The question arose, why were talented individuals, equally dedicated to their craft, receiving unequal compensation? The answer, it seemed, lay in the twisted webs of favoritism and the invisible hand of power, the producers. There was reason to believe that the producers of the film purposely dispensed the profits that way due to favoritism and no other cogent reason. Allowing controlled substances on set. Sure, every producer wants their star actors to be at peak performance on set and deliver well, but a hushed industry secret is that sometimes some producers go a little too far in boosting their actors' morale. It was whispered among the elite circles that the stars, those A-list luminaries that graced our screens, were bestowed with an endless supply of their favorite vice. The rumor mill churned with tales of a clandestine arrangement between the silver screen and their beloved performers. But the truth was far stranger than fiction. One day, legendary actor Dennis Quaid stepped forward, shedding light on this mysterious underworld. He dared to reveal the hidden truths. Dennis confessed to a casual addiction to coke, a shadow that once loomed over his rise to stardom. It all began when he embarked on his journey to the City of Angels in 1974, innocent and curious. In those early days, he dabbled with the controlled substance, a mere taste of what was to come, but it wasn't until he secured roles in mainstream films that the grip tightened and the allure of the white powder intensified. Coke, as he disclosed, held a secret place in the budgets of these movies, camouflaged under the name petty cash. It was a cunning disguise, ensuring that the substance-fueled sets remained shrouded in secrecy. Dennis Quaid confessed that the sets themselves became havens for the indulgence of this powerful substance. It was freely distributed, passed around like candy, for it had become the norm, an unspoken ritual that bound the actors and actresses together. In the intoxicating haze of those moments, Dennis Quaid unknowingly danced with his own downfall. Reflecting upon those tumultuous times, the actor admitted that his addiction to coke had been one of his gravest mistakes. It had torn apart the very fabric of his existence, leaving no stone unturned. The bright lights that once illuminated his path had dimmed, replaced by a haunting darkness that threatened to consume him entirely. But Dennis Quaid was not alone in this tumultuous journey. Even the iconic Jack Nicholson, a man who had charmed audiences with his enigmatic presence, had his own tale to tell. In a candid interview back in 1980, he nonchalantly remarked, "Drugs ain't no big thing." It was a bold proclamation, a testament to his unabashed love for getting high, a pursuit that occupied his attention for 4 glorious days every week. The Hollywood producers, those puppet masters of the silver screen, held the strings that controlled the destiny of their stars. They crafted an environment where the allure of controlled substances could flourish and where the actors and actresses could reach unprecedented heights of performance. They have fixers on speed dial. If you think about it, Hollywood is a business. Everyone you see in the industry may be there for the passion, but the money is a really huge motivating factor, from the actors to the directors and most certainly the producers. However, in the business of Hollywood, the public decides what sells and what doesn't. And one of the things that just does not sell are actors with scandals. It is bad for business, and these producers will do anything to get rid of scandals around the actors they want to work with. Now, admittedly, this is not so bad, but they would go to any lengths. Supposing an actress was working on a project and a scandal hits, the producers are put in a very bad spot. If they continue with the actress, the project is doomed to fail, and ultimately, it is too late to stop. So what do? They call a fixer, someone who is skilled at making problems go away. Michael Citrick was one of Hollywood's greatest fixers, and this was only underground knowledge. Citrick is a seasoned professional in the industry, known for his skill in turning negative stories in the press into positive ones. He has been labeled as a spinmeister, demonstrating his expertise in reshaping public narratives. Over the years, Citrick has successfully handled the reputation management of numerous high-profile clients, such as David Lee Roth and the controversial NFL quarterback Michael Vick. When it comes to handling controversies, Citrick excels. If a celebrity finds themselves bombarded with negative press, there's no doubt that Citrick is the go-to person they would want by their side. His ability to tackle difficult situations head-on is his greatest strength. You might notice a sudden surge of positive articles about a famous individual who has been caught in a compromising situation, and it's highly probable that Citrick, or someone similar to him, is diligently working behind the scenes. In essence, Citrick's expertise lies in crafting a new narrative, one that highlights the positive aspects and minimizes the impact of negative events. He understands the power of perception and works tirelessly to shape it in favor of his clients. By utilizing various strategic methods, Citrick helps his clients regain control over their public image and navigate the tumultuous waters of media scrutiny. And most Hollywood producers have a Citrick on speed dial. They mount an unhealthy amount of pressure on their stars. In their pursuit of ephemeral beauty, Hollywood starlets are not only judged by their adoring fans and the unforgiving public, but also by the agents and producers who wield their power like a double-edged sword. Like a relentless storm, these unseen forces push them towards perilous paths, demanding that they shed pounds in the most perilous of ways. But this is not just a claim. As a matter of fact, Demi Lovato backs this up when she recalls a time when she was younger. She would stare at her belly and ponder if it would ever be taut and flat. As the sands of time flowed, she finally found her way to Hollywood, And there, her eating disorder was not only noticed, but encouraged by some of the producers she worked with. Naomi Watts is another example. Known for her ethereal presence, she dared to share a harrowing truth. In their quest for her perfection, she was forced to starve, sacrificing her own well-being upon the altar of a red carpet appearance. But let us not forget the voices that rise from within this realm, like whispers of defiance against the engulfing tide. Ashley Graham, a beacon of resilience, divulged a chilling encounter with a producer whose motives reeked of malevolence. As he waved crisp $20 bills before her very eyes, he hissed promises of greater fortune if only she would shed her weight. Many other actresses have stories like these. It is the dark secret that the producers keep close to their hearts. Some producers may be involved in organized crime. Amid the glimmering lights of the Sunset Strip, one establishment stood out in Hollywood's lore, the Trocadero, affectionately known as the Troc. This legendary hotspot became a nexus where stars, producers, and mobsters crossed paths, blurring the lines between the silver screen and the criminal underworld. Here, amidst the clinking glasses and laughter, celebrities and studio heads found themselves rubbing shoulders with figures like Mickey Cohen, a notorious gangster with deep ties to organized crime. The Trocadero's allure lay in its ability to draw in the rich and famous, creating an atmosphere of mystery and intrigue. The convergence of Hollywood elites and criminal masterminds painted a vivid picture of a world where fame and infamy intersected. While the stories of these encounters remain largely anecdotal, they hint at a symbiotic relationship that fueled speculation about the entanglement of organized crime within Hollywood's power structures. The reach of organized crime in Hollywood did not dissipate with the passing of the Golden Age. In the 1970s, whispers of nefarious dealings emerged with links to the production and distribution of major films. One such case was Bryanston Pictures, a company entangled in controversy and rumored connections to a prominent mafia crime family. Bryanston Pictures found itself in the spotlight due to its involvement in the release of the cult horror classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The film, directed by Tobe Hooper, sent shockwaves through audiences and became an iconic symbol of the horror genre. However, behind the scenes, Bryanston Pictures was dogged by allegations of mafia involvement, creating a sinister aura that surrounded its operations. While the exact nature of the connections remains speculative, these allegations perpetuated a perception of organized crime's influence in Hollywood. The potential infiltration of the film industry and producers by criminal elements conjured a chilling notion that the shadows cast by the silver screen extended beyond mere storytelling. Hiring paparazzi. When actors become subjects of paparazzi attention, they are thrust into the limelight, leading to the construction of a persona that is both relatable and fascinating to the public. And Hollywood producers are well aware of this fact, and so they use it to their advantage, hiring paparazzi for the actors they want to work with. But why? Well, for one, paparazzi images, accompanied by media coverage, depict actors in various situations, ranging from red carpet events to private outings. This curated portrayal of actors helps shape public perceptions, often aligning with the characters they portray on screen. The audience begins to associate the actor's personal life with their on-screen roles, thereby creating a deeper emotional connection with their performances. But sometimes, these products take the paparazzi thing a little too far. Controversy. While the intention behind hiring paparazzi is to generate positive publicity, controversy can inadvertently arise from their intrusive tactics. In some instances, scandals and personal struggles become fodder for tabloids, attracting widespread media attention. While this type of publicity may be detrimental to an actor's public image in the short term, it can paradoxically generate increased interest in their future projects. The public's fascination with scandal and redemption narratives often translates into higher viewership, as audiences are drawn to witness an actor's ability to overcome challenges both on and off screen. The practice of producers hiring paparazzi for the purpose of enhancing an actor's popularity is not without controversy. Critics argue that it invades an individual's privacy and perpetuates a culture of intrusion and harassment. Moreover, they contend that it undermines the authenticity of an actor's image and fosters a reliance on manufactured publicity rather than genuine talent. Balancing ethical concerns with the demands of the entertainment industry remains a challenging task for all stakeholders involved. But remember, Hollywood is a business, and these producers intend to run it well. Granted, some of the things these producers do deserve some serious jail time. It's been decades since the first and greatest Catwoman graced our screens, and we still cannot get over her. Julie Newmar is undoubtedly one of the most phenomenal actresses Hollywood has ever seen. Although she is now in her 90s, her life story continues to amaze her fans, from rising above career challenges to surviving a $4 million lawsuit. Did you know these facts about her? The earthquake that almost rocked her career. Have you ever lost a video that you made in order to capture a moment you never wanted to forget? Well, let's just say the makers of the show My Living Doll had a similar painful experience when an earthquake claimed the original tapes from the show. This meant that all of Julie Newmar's scenes were completely gone and her work on the show was completely erased. One can only imagine how Julie Newmar felt when this happened. Julie Newmar, the iconic actress who wowed audiences with her memorable appearances in Route 66 and The Twilight Zone, wasn't just your average Hollywood starlet. She was, and still is, the epitome of grace and talent. But one of the roles that really set her apart on television is her role as a stunningly gorgeous robot in the sitcom My Living Doll, which aired its magic for one unforgettable season back in 1964 to 1965. Although she had many more popular roles, her role as Rhoda the robot was enjoyed by many, and it certainly contributed to her fame at the time. But what a lot of her fans didn't know was that the original tapes from the show were later lost in an earthquake. Fast forward 3 long decades, Southern California was rocked by the Northridge earthquake. Now, earthquakes are no strangers to California, but this one had a surprise in store. It wasn't just buildings and roads that trembled, it was Hollywood history itself. You see, amidst all the chaos and rumbling, something truly irreplaceable was lost forever. The 35mm negatives of Julie Newmar's My Living Doll. It was as though decades of timeless television history were reduced to rubble. The show's 35mm negatives, the golden ticket to pristine quality, were gone, just like that. But hold on, because this is where the Hollywood magic kicks in. Producers, determined to preserve Julie's legacy and share it with generations to come, embarked on a mission that could rival any heist film. They scoured the archives, reached out to collectors, and combed through dusty attics and basements. And guess what they found? Not a complete set, mind you, but 16mm copies of 11 precious episodes. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal with 16mm when we're talking about 35mm negatives? Well, let me tell you, this was Hollywood's equivalent of finding a needle in a haystack. It wasn't just about the format. It was about resurrecting Julie Newmar's brilliance, piece by piece, like a jigsaw puzzle that had been scattered by that very earthquake. They put together these episodes. As a result of this, they put together a DVD release that allowed fans, old and new, to experience the magic of My Living Doll. It might not have been in the pristine quality of 35mm, but it preserved her legacy as the star of the show. The show is now available on DVD, but if the tapes were never found, her wonderful performance on the show would have been gone forever. The lengthy feud. Over the years, several popular celebs have made headlines because of their feuds. Some of these feuds have even lasted for decades. Interestingly, Julie Newmar also had a long-lasting feud with her neighbor, Jim Belushi. Although she didn't publicly speak about the issue, it was said to have caused a major rift between her and Belushi and even led to a legal battle. I bet you're wondering what caused the feud. Let's find out. Julie Newmar, who is known for her grace and professionalism in Hollywood, is not known as one to stir up trouble with her colleagues. Her reputation was as impeccable as her performances, but it seems like she had to make an exception regarding her issue with Belushi. According to reports, the feud was one that could rival any soap opera plot. For decades, these two Hollywood icons squabbled like the best of them, and it all revolved around one thing: a fence. Now, you might think, a fence? What's the big deal? Well, it was more than just a fence. You see, Julie has always had a thing for her flowers, and who could blame her? They needed sunlight, and that fence, that pesky fence was casting a shadow over her beloved blooms. Julie, with her green thumb and a heart full of love for her garden, wanted that fence lowered just a tad to let her flowers bask in the California sun. But Jim Belushi, ever the advocate for privacy, had a different idea. He wanted that fence high, sky high even, to keep prying eyes at bay, and that's where it all began. Clearly, their clash of interests made it difficult for them to coexist as next-door neighbors. Jim Belushi, not one to back down, sued Julie Newmar for a whopping $4 million. However, the legal battle didn't leave them bitter enemies forever. Instead, it led to an amicable resolution. Julie Newmar and Jim Belushi decided to bury the hatchet and share a laugh. In a move that could only happen in Hollywood, Jim Belushi extended an olive branch, and Julie accepted with grace. But it wasn't just any olive branch. It was an invitation to guest star on his sitcom, according to Jim. The episode, fittingly titled The Grumpy Guy, did more than just mend fences. It poked fun at the very feud that had divided them. She reportedly had help with the Catwoman role. Did you know that sometimes it wasn't just Julie prowling the rooftops of Gotham? Sometimes other actresses stepped in and filled in for her when she was too busy filming other roles. Besides her undeniable beauty and undeniable acting prowess, it was her ability to seamlessly blend seduction with humor that had her viewers hooked. She wasn't just a villain. She was a complex character with a knack for stealing scenes and Batman's heart, too. Julie Newmar, the original Catwoman, slinked her way into our hearts during the first 2 seasons of Batman. Her mesmerizing charisma and undeniable charm made her an instant fan favorite. But in 1968, scheduling conflicts had her whisked away from Gotham City as she embarked on a wild western adventure in McKenna's Gold for the silver screen. So, what's a TV series to do when their feline femme fatale is MIA? This was where Eartha Kitt came in. She slipped into that leather catsuit like she was born to wear it, becoming the Catwoman for the 3rd and final season of the series. Fans were in for a surprise as they watched the character they loved so much take on a new, equally captivating form. But that's not all. In 1966, while Batman and Robin were busy battling villains on the big screen in the Batman theatrical feature, Julie Newmar was across the pond, tackling a different cinematic adventure in the UK with Monsieur Lecoq. And who stepped into her stilettos and cat mask? None other than Lee Meriwether. It was a whirlwind of Catwomen, each bringing their own unique flair to the iconic role. With her towering height and irresistible charm, Julie set the bar high. Eartha, with her sultry voice and sassy demeanor, brought a whole new dimension, and Lee, with her grace and elegance, added yet another layer of intrigue. Fans were too busy enjoying the series to even notice that Julie Newmar wasn't the only Catwoman on the show. Clearly, each actress who filled in for her did an amazing job and brought the character to life excellently. The real reason why she missed out on the Batman movie. Julie Newmar has undoubtedly built an amazing career, but just like several other Hollywood stars, she regrets some of the career decisions that she made. Have you ever wondered why Julie Newmar couldn't reprise her iconic role in the Batman movie of '66? Well, let's just say Julie had inked her name on another cinematic deal. She was headed for a different set, far away from the Batcave, and that's when the trouble began. Julie chose to embark on a parallel celluloid adventure. She had signed up for a movie role that lured her across the pond to the United Kingdom, but little did she know that this move would cast a shadow over her burgeoning Hollywood career. As she set foot on British soil, the promise of new horizons seemed tantalizingly close. The film in question, a racy comedy titled Monsieur Lecoq. Yet, here's where fate played its hand. The production of Monsieur Lecoq turned out to be as unpredictable as the Joker's next prank. It was abandoned and left unfinished, a cinematic ship adrift in uncharted waters. However, there's a silver lining to this dark cloud. You see, while Monsieur Lecoq might have been a cinematic shipwreck, Julie's reputation and beauty remained intact. Stills from the ill-fated film found their way into Playboy magazine in 1969, leaving readers in a state of bewitched fascination. That's the real reason why Julie Newmar missed out on the Batman movie of '66, a career decision that, at the time, seemed like a logical step forward but ultimately turned out to be a wrong turn on her cinematic journey. she changed her name. As far as Hollywood icons are concerned, few names shine as brightly as Julie Newmar's, yet behind the legendary actress and sultry Catwoman lies a captivating story of identity and transformation. The fact of her name remains that her birth name has slight differences from the name we all know her as. Originally, she was named Julia Jolene Newmar from birth. Her journey from a small-town girl to a Hollywood sensation was marked not only by her talent, but by a switch in identity and also personality. Julie's story begins in Los Angeles on August 16, 1933. Her parents, John and Helen Newmar, christened her with the name Julia Jolene Newmar. The name itself echoed a sense of charm and innocence, fitting for a child born into a loving family. However, as she grew older and ventured into the entertainment industry, the young starlet felt the need for a change, both personally and professionally. The decision to change one's name is never taken lightly, and in Julie's case it added an air of mystique to her persona. While the exact reasons behind her name change remain shrouded in secrecy, several speculations have emerged over the years. Some believe that the change was purely practical, as Newmar sounded more glamorous and distinctive for a budding actress seeking the spotlight of Hollywood. Others claim it was a nod to her Dutch heritage, as Newmar is a Dutch surname, which lent an exotic touch to her identity. Julie Newmar, as she became known, effortlessly conquered Hollywood. Her performances, including her iconic portrayal of Catwoman in the 1960s Batman series, solidified her status as a Hollywood legend. The name change, whatever its motivation, played a pivotal role in shaping her unique brand. In Hollywood's glittering world where image and identity are carefully crafted, Julie Newmar's name transformation was a strategic move that contributed to her enduring legacy. It added a layer of intrigue and allure, drawing fans and admirers into her orbit. In the grand tapestry of Julie Newmar's life, her name change remains an enigmatic thread. Whether it was a quest for fame, a connection to her heritage, or a stroke of marketing genius, it undeniably contributed to her status as an unforgettable Hollywood icon. Julia Jolene Newmar may have been the name she was born with, but Julie Newmar was the name that etched itself into the annals of entertainment history. She is an inventor. While the world knows Julie Newmar as the iconic Catwoman, there's more to this multifaceted talent than meets the eye. Beyond her enchanting on-screen presence, Newmar boasts another feather in her cap. She's an inventor. The same Julie Newmar who dazzled audiences as Catwoman holds a patent for a unique invention: form-flattering pantyhose that artfully delineate the wearer's derriere in cheeky relief. Julie Newmar's journey from Hollywood stardom to the world of invention is nothing short of remarkable. Her insatiable curiosity and innovative spirit led her down a path less traveled by Hollywood stars. Form-flattering pantyhose. The invention that set Julie Newmar apart from her peers was a pair of pantyhose designed to enhance the wearer's posterior, emphasizing its natural curves in a playful and stylish manner. This invention, which she patented, was more than just a piece of clothing. It was a bold statement of confidence and creativity. But this begs a question. Why would a renowned actress like Julie Newmar venture into the world of inventing pantyhose? Well, speculations abound. Some say it was born out of her deep appreciation for aesthetics and a desire to empower women to feel confident about their bodies. Others suggest it was an extension of her own artistic expression, merging her love for fashion with her theatrical flair. However, it remains a testament to her innovative spirit. It's a reminder that creativity knows no bounds and can manifest in unexpected ways. Her patent on the form-flattering pantyhose serves as an inspiration, particularly for women looking to break through barriers and venture into fields traditionally dominated by men. There's no doubt that she's a trailblazer who conquered Hollywood and ventured into the world of invention with the same vigor and passion. Her belly button almost ruined a movie. In 1953, long before her iconic role in Goldfinger, Julia Newmar, still using her birth name Newmar, captivated audiences in the film Serpent of the Nile. In this cinematic gem, she was adorned in shimmering gold paint, setting the stage for her legendary career. Her role in the film saw her showcasing her slinky and graceful dance moves in front of none other than Raymond Burr, who portrayed Mark Antony. However, the production encountered an unexpected challenge. Julie Newmar's rebellious belly button. During the filming, which included numerous backbends, swirling movements, and crouches, Newmar's real belly button seemingly had a mind of its own. She said, "Of course, in those days even belly buttons were out, but with that many backbends, swirling, crouching, my real belly button broke loose." In a true Hollywood moment of ingenuity, the day was saved by some handy Scotch tape. Secret affairs and connections on set. Julie Newmar, the iconic actress renowned for her captivating performances on screen, also left an indelible mark through her interactions and relationships on set. Her magnetic charisma and vivacious personality often led to intriguing affairs and memorable connections during her time in Hollywood. One of the most famous on-set affairs in Julie Newmar's career occurred during her tenure as Catwoman on the 1960s Batman TV series. Her sizzling on-screen chemistry with Adam West, who portrayed Batman, was undeniable. Their playful banter and electrifying exchanges captured the hearts of viewers. While their connection remained strictly professional, it's the enduring friendship and mutual respect that truly defined this iconic on-set relationship. In yet another speculative affair, Julie Newmar shared the screen with legendary actress Mae West in the film Myra Breckinridge. The two bombshells set the stage on fire with their bold and audacious performances. Although their collaboration was brief, it marked a memorable encounter between two Hollywood icons. Their camaraderie behind the scenes was said to be filled with laughter and shared moments that enriched the filming experience. Others also speculate there was something more between them. Beyond her acting roles, Julie Newmar's multifaceted talents extended to creative collaborations with fellow actors and artists. Her willingness to engage in artistic endeavors and her open-minded approach often led to meaningful connections with those she worked with. Whether it was collaborating on a project or sparking creative discussions, Newmar's presence on set was known to inspire those around her. Julie Newmar's affairs on set weren't solely about romantic connections. They were also about the friendship she forged and the lasting impact she had on her colleagues. Her affable nature, warmth, and genuine interest in the people she worked with left a profound impression on many. These relationships often extended beyond the confines of the set, creating enduring bonds that lasted a lifetime. In the world of Hollywood, where relationships can be fleeting, Julia Newmar's affairs on set were proof of the enduring connections she made throughout her illustrious career. Her ability to spark chemistry, whether as Catwoman alongside Mae West or in creative collaborations, added depth to her legacy as not only a remarkable actress, but also a cherished colleague and friend. She auditioned for her original role and failed. Julie Newmar's transition from film and stage to television marked a pivotal chapter in her illustrious career. Her early forays into TV, particularly her role in My Living Doll, earned her recognition and set the stage for her iconic portrayal of Catwoman in Batman in 1966. In the mid-1960s, as her film and stage successes continued to flourish, Julie Newmar ventured into the world of television. She took on the role of Rhoda Miller in My Living Doll, an American sitcom that showcased her talent and charisma. The show garnered attention and even earned her Golden Globe nominations. However, despite its promise, My Living Doll was relatively short-lived, airing for just one season and comprising 26 episodes. Julie Newmar's career-defining moment came when she was cast as Catwoman in the 1966 television series Batman. Her portrayal of the iconic feline villain was a revelation. Not only did she showcase her remarkable acting prowess, but her alluring and statuesque figure also added a layer of allure to the character. As the original Catwoman, she captured the hearts of viewers, becoming an instant sensation. Julie Newmar's portrayal of Catwoman became an enduring symbol of sensuality and power in pop culture. Her magnetic performance left an indelible mark on the character, making it challenging for others to step into her high-heeled boots. Even 25 years later, when the character was revisited in Batman Returns 1992, fans held a deep affection for the original Catwoman. But here's the twist. Julie Newmar's desire to reprise her iconic role as Catwoman in Batman Returns was met with enthusiasm from her devoted fanbase. She audaciously auditioned for the role, aiming to once again don the catsuit that had become synonymous with her name. However, in a twist of fate, The role ultimately went to Michelle Pfeiffer, who delivered a memorable performance. She didn't have time to care for her special needs son. Julie Newmar's personal life took a significant turn when she married J. Holt Smith, an attorney, in 1977. The union brought forth the blessing of a child, John Jewel Smith. However, their journey as parents was marked by unique challenges that profoundly affected Newmar's life. The birth of John Jewel Smith was a moment of joy and adjustment for Julie Newmar and J. Holt Smith. However, it was soon apparent that John had Down syndrome, a genetic condition that required special care and attention. This revelation brought both joy and responsibility as they embraced the challenges of raising a child with special needs. Julie Newmar was at the peak of her career during this period, and her professional commitments demanded a significant portion of her time and energy. Balancing a thriving career in entertainment with the demands of caring for a child with special needs proved to be a complex and demanding task. Given the demands of her career and the specialized care required for John, Julie Newmar made the difficult decision to entrust his care primarily to her mother. This decision was not made lightly, but was driven by the desire to ensure that John received the specialized attention and support needed to thrive. Newmar's mother became a crucial pillar in John's life, providing love and care while Newmar continued to work in the entertainment industry. Julie's choice to keep John with her mother while she pursued her career told the story of the sacrifices she made as a mother. It was a heart-wrenching decision made out of love and a desire to provide the best possible life for her son. While she may not have been physically present every day, her unwavering love for John was evident in her commitment to ensuring he had the support and care required for his well-being. Her journey as a mother to a child with Down syndrome reflects the complex choices and sacrifices often made by parents in similar situations. Her love for John, coupled with her dedication to her career, created a unique dynamic that highlighted the challenges faced by families navigating the world of special needs care. Sometimes it is easy to forget that the characters we see in movies are real-life humans with feelings, emotions, and lives separate from the movies we adore the Hollywood stars for. During the filming of 100 Rifles, a lot of things happened on set that bore no reflection on the film itself, but just as serious. One of them is the huff rift between Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds. We'll get to the bottom of this, but first, let's backtrack a bit. Why the film was conceived. The producer of That 70s Show, Martin Schwartz, had just signed a 4-picture deal with the big film corporation, 20th Century Fox, and as such, the first film in the contract needed to be one worth watching, as it would dictate how well the next 3 would go. As one might imagine, there was a lot of pressure on Martin to bring his A-game and produce a really good film, so he got an idea based on a novel by Robert McLeod. Claire Huffaker originally wrote the script. The plot was around a lawman who, in his quest to catch a robber, got captured by a Mexican general and eventually got reeled into a much bigger mission, a higher calling that was larger than them. The robber Joe and the lawman had to work together and eventually be part of a revolution. Joe finally falls in love with the leader of the revolution, Sorry, and the lawman goes home, leaving the robber to lead. The picture had such a great theme and thus needed solid characters to embody the vision of the story, and so the search for the right cast was on. Eventually, Raquel Welch was selected to play the role of Sorry, the beautiful and resilient revolutionary. Burt Reynolds was cast as the man who later falls in love with her. It was perfect. The producers and director were sure of their choice because the actors already personified the characters in real life. Raquel was gorgeous and had poise and intelligence. Reynolds was a typical lover boy, charismatic and exciting to be around. No one thought anything would go wrong with the characters, but everyone was wrong. The chemistry. The 2 stars collided in a collision of fate and film magic. Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds, both young and on the brink of stardom, found themselves on the set of 100 Rifles. Little did they know, their journey would be marked by more than just scripted lines and action scenes. As they first crossed paths, their eyes locked in a moment that seemed to foretell the chemistry about to unfold on screen. Raquel, with her beauty that could stop anyone in their tracks, and Burt, with his rugged charm and charisma, were like 2 sides of a magnet irresistibly drawn together. As their characters' storylines intertwined, so did their real-life connection. The excitement was palpable. The anticipation of filming scenes where their characters would eventually fall in love had an electrifying effect. They shared laughter, exchanged stories, and quickly found themselves developing a camaraderie that mirrored the dynamic of their on-screen counterparts. But what really made the producers rub their hands together in satisfaction was the undeniable spark between Raquel and Bert. It was as if the universe had conspired to make their chemistry off the charts. They bantered effortlessly, finishing each other's sentences and evoking genuine reactions from one another. The producers knew they had struck gold, the kind of chemistry that would translate flawlessly onto the silver screen. The Rift. Amid the sun-soaked sets and desert landscapes of 100 Rifles, a single moment unfolded that sent ripples through the delicate balance of chemistry between Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds. It was a day like any other, the air tinged with excitement and camaraderie. Burt, known for his wit and sometimes irreverent comments, let slip a remark about Raquel that he likely didn't think twice about. Yet the instant those words escaped his lips, a heavy realization settled upon him like a cloud. Raquel's reaction was swift and intense, a torrent of emotions that shattered the comfortable rapport they had built. Her anger was palpable, her voice cutting through the air as she demanded that he never speak such words about her again. It was a moment of rupture, a breach in the connection they had cherished just days before. From that moment on, an unspoken barrier emerged. Raquel, hurt and wounded, decided to keep her distance. The warmth that had flowed between them was now replaced with an icy silence. Conversations dwindled to the bare necessities, and the spark that had once set the set ablaze seemed to be extinguished. The dynamic that had once been so electric now mirrored that of distant colleagues rather than the close friends they had become. The question that lingered in the air like an unresolved plot twist was, what could Burt Reynolds have possibly said to trigger such a fierce reaction from Raquel Welch? The exact words might forever remain confined to the realms of speculation, locked away in the vault of Hollywood's mysteries. Some conjectured that his comment might have unintentionally wounded her, shaking the foundation of the connection they had fostered. Perhaps it was a comment that implied he wasn't reciprocating her interest in the same fervent way she had hoped. While the truth might remain elusive, the theory held a certain plausibility. After all, it's often the most minor words that hold the most profound impact. Whatever the content of that fateful comment, it was enough to turn the tides of their chemistry and leave an indelible mark on the remainder of the shoot. As the days rolled on, the once vibrant connection continued to erode. Raquel's decision to speak to Burt only when necessary created a gulf that even the script's fiery scenes couldn't bridge. Their interactions became rehearsed, their glances devoid of the warmth they had once held. The energy that had fueled their on-screen and off-screen dynamics was now replaced by a palpable awkwardness. The aftermath. Despite the rift that had emerged between Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds during the filming of 100 Rifles, both actors managed to navigate the tricky waters of professionalism. The movie's production continued, fueled by the dedication and commitment of the entire cast and crew, including the two stars who had once shared a magnetic chemistry. On screen, their interaction seemed seamless, their connection undetectable to the untrained eye. Fans, as they flocked to theaters to watch the movie, were none the wiser about the off-screen turmoil that had transpired. Fast forward 3 years to 1972, and destiny once again brought Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds back together, this time for the movie Fuzz. However, this reunion came with a caveat. Raquel agreed to take part in the project only under the condition that she would not have to share any scenes with Reynolds. The once fiery chemistry had cooled into a frosty distance, and both actors were determined to keep their interactions as minimal as possible. The passing years did little to thaw the ice between them. It wasn't until 1982, a full decade after their initial rift, that circumstances led to an unexpected twist. Raquel Welch was cast in Cannery Row, but the production hit a roadblock when the producers decided to terminate her contract, citing unprofessional behavior. Deborah Winger was brought in as a replacement. In an unexpected turn of events, Burt Reynolds stepped onto the scene as a surprising ally. Despite their years of discord, he testified on Raquel's behalf during the legal battle that ensued. They spoke of her punctuality, preparation, and professionalism on set. painting a picture that contradicted the negative image portrayed by the producers. It was a moment that held a mirror to the complexity of human relationships, where personal feelings and professional respect could coexist in unexpected ways. Ultimately, Raquel Welch emerged victorious from the legal battle, winning a settlement of $10.8 million. It was a resolution that marked the end of a tumultuous chapter in both their lives. The conflict that had brewed for years was finally put to rest, and the two actors, despite their differences, had each played their parts in the grand tapestry of Hollywood's ever-unfolding story. So many secrets lurk behind the curtains of Hollywood movies. What you see on screen is not necessarily a reflection of what happened on set. Just like 100 Rifles, secrets and hidden narratives exist in yet another Hollywood famous show, That 70s Show. Click here to check it out. You might know her as the queen of country music with a voice that can melt hearts and a personality brighter than her rhinestone outfits. But did you know that Dolly Parton once took things so far, it left everyone in shock?
Shocking.
Let's dive into the world of Dolly, where things aren't always as simple as they seem. The humble beginnings of a country icon. Nestled in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee in a tiny one-room cabin, a star was born. Not just any star, but Dolly Rebecca Parton, the fourth of 12 siblings. Now, if you're imagining a luxurious childhood filled with glitz and glam, think again. Dolly's early years were anything but glamorous. The Partons were dirt poor, and when we say dirt, we mean it quite literally. They didn't have fancy toys or lavish vacations. Instead, they had love, music, and each other. Dolly's grandfather was a preacher, and it was in the church that she first showcased her vocal prowess. By the age of 6, she was already strumming a homemade guitar, and by 10, she was featuring on local radio and TV shows. Talk about starting young. But it wasn't just her voice that stood out. Dolly had a knack for storytelling. She could weave tales of love, loss, and laughter, all with a twang of her country roots. As Dolly grew, so did her ambitions. She wasn't content just being the darling of Locust Ridge. No, she had bigger dreams. Dreams of bright lights, grand stages, and a sea of fans singing along to her tunes. But to achieve that, she'd have to leave her beloved mountains behind. And leave she did, but not without a heavy heart and a promise to return. Now you might be thinking, a young girl moving to the big city all alone? That sounds like a recipe for disaster, and in most cases you'd be right. But Dolly wasn't like most. She was determined, hard-working, and had a pinch of that Parton charm. Nashville, the country music capital, was about to get a taste of Dolly, and boy, were they in for a treat. But as she stepped into the world of music and fame, not everything was smooth sailing. The industry was tough, competitive, and often ruthless. Many tried to take advantage of her, but Dolly, with her sharp wit and even sharper tongue, made sure they regretted it. She penned songs that resonated with people, songs that told stories that were often a reflection of her own life. And just when Nashville thought they had seen all of Dolly, she dropped a bombshell, a decision that would change the course of her career forever. Curious to know what it was? Well, let's just say Dolly's daring move to Nashville was just the beginning. The real drama was yet to unfold. Dolly's daring move to Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee, the beating heart of country music, a place where dreams are made, stars are born, and legends are etched into history. But for a young Dolly Parton, fresh from the mountains and with big dreams in her eyes, Nashville was a whole new world. A world filled with honky-tonks, cowboy boots, and the sweet sound of the steel guitar echoing through the streets. Now, moving to a big city can be daunting for anyone, let alone a young girl from a tiny mountain town. But Dolly wasn't just anyone. With her guitar in hand and a song in her heart, she took to the streets of Nashville, determined to make her mark. And while the city was vast and the competition fierce, Dolly had something that set her apart. Her unique voice and her ability to tell stories that touched the soul. But let's not paint too rosy a picture here. Nashville was tough. Record labels were even tougher. They wanted a certain type, a certain sound. And while Dolly had the talent, she didn't always fit the mold. There were rejections, doors slammed in her face, and nights where she questioned her decision to leave her beloved Smoky Mountains. However, in the midst of all the challenges, Dolly's resilience shone through. She began performing at local venues, collaborating with other artists, and slowly but surely, her name started to create a buzz in the music circles. People began to take notice. They'd say, "Have you heard that new girl, Dolly? She's got something special." And special she was. In a short span of time, Dolly went from being a newcomer to a sought-after artist. Record labels that once rejected her were now vying for her attention. But Dolly, true to her roots, knew the value of hard work and staying true to oneself. She penned songs that were not just hits but anthems, songs that people related to, cried to, and celebrated with. But just as things seemed to be going perfectly, Dolly did the unthinkable. She took a risk, a gamble that not many would dare to take, and this decision would not only shape her career but also the landscape of country music forever. What was this bold move? Well, let's just say if you thought moving to Nashville was her biggest challenge, you're in for a surprise. Because the song that shocked the world is up next, and it's a tale you won't want to miss. The song that shocked the world. In the world of music, there are songs that entertain, songs that inspire, and then there are songs that redefine genres. For Dolly, that song was just around the corner, and it was about to send shock waves through the industry. Enter Jolene, a haunting melody, a tale of heartbreak, and a plea to a stunning red-headed woman. Now, you might be thinking, what's so shocking about a song on heartbreak? Isn't that what country music is all about? Well, yes and no. While the theme was familiar, the raw emotion and vulnerability Dolly brought to the song were unparalleled. It wasn't just a song, it was a confession, a raw outpouring of emotion. The story goes that Dolly wrote Jolene based on a real-life encounter.
Now this is a true story for those of you that don't know.
A bank teller with flaming red hair had taken a liking to her husband, and while the flirtation was innocent, it was enough to inspire one of the most iconic songs in country music history. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of painting Jolene as the villain, Dolly's lyrics delve into her own insecurities, her own fears. It was a perspective shift that resonated with many. Jolene wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. It topped charts, won awards, and solidified Dolly's position as a force to be reckoned with. But more than the accolades, it showcased Dolly's genius as a songwriter. She had the unique ability to take personal experiences and turn them into universal truths. But as with any massive success, there were challenges. There were rumors, speculations about the true identity of Jolene, and debates on whether the song was a work of fiction or a page from Dolly's life. Dolly, with her trademark wit, often laughed off the speculations, leaving fans and critics guessing. And while Jolene was making waves, Dolly was already onto her next adventure, an adventure that would take her far from the recording studios of Nashville and onto the glitzy sets of Hollywood. Yes, our country girl was about to take on the world of movies. And if you think her songs had drama, wait till you hear about her Hollywood escapades. Because Dolly's unexpected Hollywood adventure is up next, and trust me, it's a story filled with glitz, glamour, and a whole lot of Dolly Parton's unexpected Hollywood adventure. When you think of Dolly Parton, the first thing that might come to mind is her iconic voice and her country roots. But Dolly, ever the trailblazer, decided to venture into uncharted territory, Hollywood. And no, she wasn't just there to sing a tune or two. She was there to act. It all began with a script that landed on Dolly's desk. A story about 3 working women, tired of their chauvinistic boss and dreaming of a better life. The movie? 9 to 5. Now, for someone with no formal acting training, taking on a lead role in a major Hollywood production might seem like a tall order. But Dolly, with her infectious charm and natural flair for drama, fit right in. On set, she was a breath of fresh air. While Hollywood can often be a place of egos and rivalries, Dolly's down-to-earth nature and genuine warmth won everyone over. And it wasn't just her co-stars that were smitten. The audience loved her too. 9 to 5 Inches became a box office hit, and Dolly's portrayal of the sassy secretary Doralee Rhodes became iconic. Oh, and did we mention she also wrote and performed the title track, which became an anthem for working women everywhere. But Dolly's Hollywood journey didn't stop there. She went on to star in other films like The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and Steel Magnolias. Each role showcased a different facet of her talent, from comedy to drama, proving that she was not just a one-trick pony. However, as with any journey, there were bumps along the way. Not every film was a hit, and critics were often divided on her performances. But in true Dolly fashion, she took it all in stride. She once quipped, "I'm not offended by all the dumb blonde jokes because I know I'm not dumb, and I also know I'm not blonde." As the years went by, Dolly's focus shifted back to her first love, music. But her stint in Hollywood left an indelible mark. It showed the world that Dolly Parton was not just a country singer. She was an entertainer in the truest sense of the word. And just when you thought you'd heard it all, Dolly had another surprise up her sleeve. A dream that was close to her heart, a tribute to her roots, and a gift to her fans. Curious? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive into Dolly's theme park dream, and it's a ride you won't want to miss. Breaking Barriers, Dolly's Theme Park Dream. From the glitzy stages of Hollywood to the serene valleys of Tennessee, Dolly's journey had been nothing short of spectacular. But for someone who had conquered the charts and the big screen, what was next? Well, Dolly had a dream, one that was larger than life, quite literally. Nestled in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains, Dolly envisioned a place where families could come together, relive the magic of her music, and experience the charm of her childhood. A place where the past met the present, where music met adventure. This dream was to become Dollywood. Now, creating a theme park is no small feat. It requires vision, planning, and a whole lot of determination. But if there's one thing we've learned about Dolly, it's that when she sets her mind to something, she goes all out. And so, in 1986, Dollywood opened its doors to the public. But this wasn't just any theme park. Dollywood was a reflection of Dolly's life and her love for her hometown. From the replica of her childhood home to the Southern Gospel Museum, every corner of the park told a story. And of course, there were the rides, thrilling roller coasters, serene paddle boat rides, and fun-filled water attractions ensured that there was something for everyone. But Dollywood was more than just rides and attractions. It was a celebration of the culture and heritage of the Smoky Mountains. The park showcased local artisans, craftsmen, and musicians, giving visitors a taste of the rich traditions of the region. As the years went by, Dollywood expanded, adding new attractions, shows, and events. The park became a symbol of Dolly's commitment to her roots and her desire to give back to her community. It provided jobs, boosted tourism, and put Pigeon Forge on the map as a must-visit destination. But while Dollywood was thriving, Dolly was about to face one of the biggest controversies of her career. A song, a legend, and a whole lot of drama. Curious? Well, hold on to your hats, because the story behind I Will Always Love You is up next. And trust me, it's a tale filled with twists, turns, and a whole lot of heart. The controversy behind I Will Always Love You. I Will Always Love You. A song that has echoed through the ages, touching hearts and stirring emotions. But while many associate this ballad with the powerhouse vocals of Whitney Houston, its origins trace back to our very own Dolly Parton. And boy, does it have a story to tell. The year was 1973. Dolly was at a crossroads in her career. She had been a regular on the Porter Wagoner show for several years, and while the partnership had been fruitful, Dolly felt the need to spread her wings and embark on a solo journey. But leaving wasn't easy. How do you bid farewell to someone who has been instrumental in your success? If you're Dolly Parton, you do it through a song. I Will Always Love You was Dolly's poignant goodbye to Porter Wagoner. It was a thank you, a farewell, and a promise to always cherish the memories. The song was a hit, touching the top of the country charts not once but twice. But the story doesn't end there. Fast forward to the 90s, and the song found its way to Whitney Houston, who was looking for a ballad for her movie, The Bodyguard. And when Whitney sang it, the world stopped and listened. Her rendition was powerful, soulful, and became an instant classic. It topped charts worldwide and became one of the best-selling singles of all time. But with great success came controversy. Many believed that Dolly had sold the song to Whitney. Rumors swirled, and debates raged over who sang it better. But Dolly, ever the gracious queen, set the record straight. She expressed her admiration for Whitney's version and stated that the song still belonged to her. After all, she had penned it from the heart. The song's success was a testament to Dolly's genius as a songwriter. It showed that a song, when sung from the heart, could transcend genres, eras, and artists. And while the world may remember Whitney's powerful vocals, the soul of the song will always belong to Dolly. But as the world was singing along to "I Will Always Love You," Dolly was quietly making moves behind the scenes, moves that showcased a side of her that few were privy to, a side that was generous, compassionate, and always looking to give back. Curious? Well, get ready to dive deep into Dolly's world of philanthropy, because what she did next will warm your heart and restore your faith in humanity. Dolly's generosity, more than just a songbird. While the world swayed to the melodies of Dolly's songs, there was a side to her that often stayed out of the limelight. Beyond the glitz, glamour, and sequined outfits, Dolly Parton was a philanthropist at heart. Her generosity knew no bounds, and her desire to give back was deeply rooted in her humble beginnings. Growing up in a one-room cabin in the Smoky Mountains, Dolly knew the struggles of life all too well. She witnessed poverty, hardship, and the challenges that came with limited access to education and resources. But instead of letting these experiences weigh her down, Dolly used them as a driving force to make a difference. Enter the Dollywood Foundation. Established in 1988, this foundation was Dolly's way of giving back to her community. One of its flagship programs, the Imagination Library, was a testament to Dolly's love for reading and her belief in the power of education. The program aimed to foster a love for reading among children by providing them with a free book every month from birth until they started school. What began as a local initiative soon spread across the U.S., UK, Canada, and Australia, gifting millions of books to children worldwide. But Dolly's generosity wasn't limited to books. She supported numerous causes, from wildlife conservation to disaster relief. When wildfires ravaged the Smoky Mountains in 2016, Dolly was quick to respond. Through her foundation, she set up the My People Fund, which provided financial assistance to families who had lost their homes. Her compassion and swift action were a beacon of hope during those challenging times. While many celebrities often make charitable contributions, Dolly's approach was personal. She was hands-on, involved, and genuinely cared about making a difference. For her, charity wasn't about tax breaks or positive PR. It was about changing lives and leaving the world a little better than she found it. But as we delve deeper into Dolly's philanthropic endeavors, we uncover stories that are lesser known but equally impactful, stories that showcase the depth of her generosity and the lengths she would go to help those in need. So, are you ready to discover the secret side of Dolly's philanthropy? Because what comes next is a heartwarming tale of kindness, compassion, and the true spirit of giving. The secret side of Parton's philanthropy. Dolly Parton, with her larger-than-life persona, has always been in the spotlight. But behind the scenes, she's been quietly working miracles, often without seeking any recognition. This secret side of her philanthropy is filled with tales of kindness that have touched countless lives. One such story revolves around a hospital in Sevier County. When Dolly heard that the local hospital was struggling to fund a new wing, she didn't think twice. She hosted a benefit concert, raising a significant amount of money, and the new addition to the hospital was soon a reality. But Dolly didn't stop there. She ensured that the wing had state-of-the-art equipment, providing the community with access to top-notch health care. Education, a cause close to Dolly's heart, saw her support go beyond the Imagination Library. She funded scholarships for high school students, ensuring that financial constraints didn't hinder their dreams. The Dolly Parton Scholarship awarded students based on their leadership, community service, and academic achievements. For Dolly, it was about investing in the future, one student at a time. But perhaps the most touching of all her charitable endeavors was her support for families in need. Every Christmas, Dolly's foundation would identify families struggling to make ends meet and ensure they had food on their table and presents under their tree. These acts of kindness, done without any fanfare, brought joy and hope to many. Dolly's philanthropy also extended to the LGBTQ+ community. She has been a vocal supporter of LGBTQ+ rights and has often used her platform to advocate for acceptance and love. Her support has not only been verbal, she's backed it up with action, supporting various charities and initiatives that work towards LGBTQ+ rights and well-being. While these stories offer just a glimpse into Dolly's charitable endeavors, they highlight a consistent theme: her genuine desire to help and make a difference. For Dolly, it's never been about the accolades or the recognition. It's always been about the impact. But as we've seen, Dolly's influence isn't limited to her philanthropy. She's also been a vocal advocate on various social issues, using her platform to drive change. Ready to dive into Dolly's bold stand on social matters? Because up next, we're exploring how this country queen became a voice for the voiceless. Dolly's bold stand on social issues. In a world where celebrities often tread lightly around controversial topics, Dolly Parton stands out as a beacon of authenticity. While she's known for her bubbly personality and infectious laughter, when it comes to social issues, Dolly doesn't shy away. She speaks her mind, and in doing so has become an unexpected but powerful advocate for change. One of the most notable instances of this was her public support for the Black Lives Matter movement. In an interview, when asked about the movement, Dolly responded with her signature wit and wisdom. "Do we think our little white asses are the only ones that matter? No!" This simple yet powerful statement resonated with many, highlighting Dolly's belief in equality and justice for all. But her advocacy isn't just limited to words. Dolly has taken actionable steps to ensure inclusivity. A prime example is her decision to rename one of the attractions at her Dollywood theme park. What was once known as the Dixie Stampede is now simply the Stampede, a change made in recognition of the divisive connotations associated with the word Dixie. Dolly's support for the LGBTQ+ community is also noteworthy. She's been a vocal ally, often emphasizing the importance of love and acceptance. In her words, "God made us as we are, whether you're gay, straight, or transgender." Her annual Gay Day at Dollywood, where she celebrates the LGBTQ+ community, is a testament to her commitment to inclusivity. But it's not just about grand gestures. Dolly's approach to social issues is deeply personal. She often shares anecdotes from her life, highlighting the lessons she's learned and the values she holds dear. Stories of her childhood, where she grew up around people from all walks of life, have shaped her worldview. For Dolly, it's always been about understanding, empathy, and the belief that at the end of the day, we're all human. As we delve deeper into Dolly's life and legacy, it becomes evident that her impact goes beyond music and philanthropy. She's a cultural icon, a voice for the marginalized, and a beacon of hope in challenging times. But what is the legacy that Dolly wishes to leave behind? As we move to our final chapter, we explore the everlasting impact of this country legend and the mark she's left on the world. The legacy of a legend, Dolly's everlasting impact. When we talk about legacies, it's often in the context of what one leaves behind after they're gone. But in the case of Dolly Parton, her legacy is very much alive, evolving, and continuing to inspire millions around the globe. Dolly's music career, spanning over 5 decades, has seen her release countless hits, earning her a spot in the coveted Country Music Hall of Fame. But beyond the awards and accolades, Dolly's songs have touched hearts, narrating stories of love, loss, hope, and resilience. Songs like Jolene and 9 to 5 Inches have become anthems, transcending generations and resonating with fans young and old. But Dolly's influence isn't just confined to the world of music. Her foray into film and television has seen her act, produce, and even compose soundtracks. Movies like Steel Magnolias and 9 to 5 Inches showcased her acting prowess, while her production ventures like Heartstrings on Netflix highlight her storytelling abilities. Yet, at the core of Dolly's legacy is her unwavering spirit of generosity. From her efforts to boost literacy to her contributions to medical research, Dolly's philanthropic endeavors showcase her commitment to making the world a better place. Her recent donation towards COVID-19 vaccine research further cements her status as a humanitarian, always ready to step up in times of crisis. But perhaps what truly sets Dolly apart is her authenticity. In an industry often rife with pretense, Dolly has remained genuine, staying true to herself and her values. Her candidness about her struggles, her humility despite her immense success, and her ability to connect with people from all walks of life make her a true icon. If you enjoyed this video, check out the next one in this series. The year was 1964. A new franchise was making its debut on CBS, and everyone behind it was scared to the bones. There were 1,001 questions. What if no one liked it? It was an unconventional idea, but in the first episode, one small, tiny mistake slipped past the eyes of the team, a crew member visible in the film, ruining the illusion. This was the first of many little mistakes that eventually led to the most fatal mistake and ended the 2-year run of what would have been a timeless series, The Munsters Next Door. Everyone is familiar with an everyday suburban family. We see them every day. We have some of them as friends. We could even be them. But what if your average suburban family wasn't so average and were actually a family of monsters? This was the idea that crossed the mind of Bob Clampett. He had been tinkering with the idea between 1943 to 1945, and he believed it was time to breathe life into it, so he decided to pitch it to Universal Studios. It was crazy. It was wild. Very unusual and definitely original, and there was every chance that the studio would reject it. But Bob, being an animator, believed in it so much that he sold it to them. Did they buy it? Absolutely. But there was another problem. The executives were divided on how the movie should be aired. While some believed it should be a cartoon, others thought a live action was the way to go. Eventually, the live action side of the board prevailed, and in 1964, the live action pilot of the show was aired. It was titled My Fair Munster. In all honesty, it was a stab in the dark. The movie may have gone from being a mere idea to being executed, but whether or not it'll be accepted by the public was a whole different ballgame altogether. Thankfully, Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, the first cast, did a great job as a result of their O-screen chemistry, and the public fell in love with not just them, but the movie itself. Right from the pilot scene, it was already a great success, and thus, what would become a 2-year franchise was born. But after 2 years of a good run, the show finally stopped and is now a shadow of its former self. Everything that starts must end, and so the show eventually had to draw its own curtains, right? Wrong. There are a few factors that forced the Munsters show to draw the curtains against their own will, mistakes that sunk their fangs into the heart of the show and eventually ended its run, and the first one, you may not have seen coming even if you were a fan of the show: sloppy production mistakes. The show may have painted this eerie and enchanting world that has captivated the hearts and interest of thousands, if not millions of people. However, behind all the spookiness and charm, there is a flaw, a terrible flaw that may have been hard to notice, but even more difficult to ignore when you do. Remember those mysterious bats that were fluttering through the air in the show, how they would cast their ominous shadows upon the unsuspecting residents of 1313 Mockingbird Lane? Well, here's the kicker. As they soared with an air of grandeur, even when the viewers knew that the movie was fiction, there was a fatal flaw in those scenes that would infuriate anyone who saw it. In their fervor to capture the essence of these winged creatures, the creators of The Munsters employed the use of wires, an ingenious trick that unfortunately didn't escape the prying eyes of those who sought out every minute detail. It turns out that during those scenes, the wires were still showing, which ruined the illusion of the bats flying on their own, and it sent the critics to Critic Town. A mistake that slipped through the producers, but when critics start pointing things out, the show would not doubt be affected. But if you think the mistakes are over, think again. Terrible plot inconsistency. Well, one may argue that when you have a show where monsters and humans are living side by side, a lot of things are bound to go wrong, plot-wise, but the holes in this plot are apparently too terrible to ignore. For one, on the show, the Munsters regard their niece Marilyn, who looks like the ideal beauty of non-monster people, as ugly and deformed, yet everyone else in the town of Mockingbird Heights basically looks like Marilyn. But that's not all. The Munsters also watch movies and regard then-popular stars such as Frank Sinatra and Rock Hudson as ideal men, and Grandpa's beauty potions always conjure up a beauty who looks something like Marilyn. But here's the problem. Shouldn't their concept of beauty be horrible monsters, in accordance with the premise that Marilyn is an ugly duckling? On top of all these, there's also the inconsistency where the Munsters seem not to be aware that they look radically different from non-monster people despite interacting with them on a daily basis. This begs the question, are the Munsters frightening or not? Sometimes in the show they scare non-monsters, but at other times interactions with regular people seem seamless, almost like the humans are not aware that they're interacting with monsters. The inconsistencies are way too obvious, and therefore the show has been slammed by a handful of critics. More bullets in the heart of the show, but will it finally give? This next mistake was an even harder hit. Crew member visible. Have you ever spotted a film mistake that was so bad you laughed and asked yourself, how did the crew not see that? Well, in The Munsters, the crew apparently wanted a shot in the scenes because in one of the scenes, a crew member could be seen through an open door beside the staircase. It's one of those details that you may not catch at first, but once you do, it's impossible to not see it. While some viewers caught it and had a good laugh, critics had a different perspective as they thought it was disgraceful, sloppy, and extremely unprofessional that the mistake even happened in the first place. What makes this much worse is the fact that this mistake was in the very first scene of the very first episode. Is this an unforgivable mistake, or it's just one of those things? Either way, this in turn contributed to the fall of the Munsters show. Even when they had other good reviews, a great concept and a storyline, little by little, these little mistakes poisoned the perception of the show until this next thing caused it to fall off completely. Leave! Batman's in town. Despite all the bad comments and critics, the Munsters show was still a resounding success, so much so that it was running for 2 years straight until another bully show came into town and bodies the Munsters. The name of the show? Batman. As the Batman movie hit theaters, it captured the attention of millions of people. Moviegoers flocked to cinemas eager to see their favorite superhero in action. This surge in popularity meant that people had less time and interest to watch other shows on TV, including the Munsters. As a result, the ratings for the Munsters began to plummet. With low rankings and declining viewership, the producers of the Munsters faced a challenging situation. They relied on advertising revenue and audience support to keep the show running, but the decline in viewers made it difficult to sustain the production. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't compete with the overwhelming popularity of the Batman movie. Sadly, the impact of the Batman movie on the Munsters was severe. The show struggled to attract advertisers who preferred to invest their resources in the highly successful Batman franchise. The declining ratings also made it harder for the show to secure a prime-time slot, further decreasing its chances of survival. Eventually, the producers of the Munsters had to make the difficult decision to end the show. It was a disappointing outcome for the cast, crew, and loyal fans who had supported the series for 2 years. The Batman movie's immense success became a determining factor in the downfall of the Munsters, forcing them to pack up and quit. According to one of the producers, Patrick, he said, "I think Batman was to blame." Unfortunately, this show came to a very sad end.
The intense love stories that the world has witnessed in movies like Dirty Dancing, The Notebook, and Romeo and Juliet are actually the representation of the magic that can happen when two actors who hate each other decide to come together and act in a romantic movie. Some of the movie stars who acted as couples in these popular romantic movies actually hated each other in real life. It is surprising to know that they could pretend to be in love on screens and even convince their viewers in the process. This video reveals some of your favorite on-screen couples that didn't get along behind the scenes. Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing. In 1987, Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze carried their viewers on a beautiful love journey as they appeared as a couple in the iconic romantic dance movie Dirty Dancing. However, what a lot of their viewers didn't know was that they didn't get along behind the scenes. The movie is about a lady who fell in love with a dance instructor at a vacation resort. Jennifer Grey played the lead female character, Baby, while Patrick Swayze played the lead male character.
Their characters fell deeply in love in the movie, and their chemistry on screen was perfect. Dirty Dancing turned out to be one of these movies that would make you want to be in love. The both of them skillfully made their chemistry seem real on screens. Their love looked so real that some of their fans started hoping for them to become a thing in real life. Their fans will be sorely disappointed to find out that they could barely stand each other in real life. Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey disliked each other in real life. They had issues in the past in one of the movies they had filmed together, and they just couldn't stand each other. Working together on the set of Dirty Dancing was a hassle for both of them. There was a lot of friction in between. Jennifer Grey said that Patrick Swayze was difficult to work with, and interestingly, he felt the same about her. In his autobiography, he said, "She'd slip into silly moods, forcing us to do scenes over and over again. We did have a few moments of friction. She seemed particularly emotional, sometimes bursting into tears if someone criticized her. They clearly did not enjoy working with each other, but they had to put their differences aside and work together to create an amazing movie." Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling in The Notebook. In 2004, Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling came together to act in the intense romantic drama film The Notebook. They were both cast to act in the movie that was based on Nicolas Cage's novel. As soon as the film was released, it was as though they were made for the roles that they played. Rachel McAdams appeared as Allie and Ryan Gosling appeared as Noah. The movie was an instant hit, and most people who watched the movie instantly fell in love with the characters. During that period, the world saw two doting movie stars who were able to bring an emotional love story to life, but what their fans didn't see was the weird working relationship they had off camera. It's safe to say they both hated working with each other, they barely got along, and it was difficult to get them to agree on certain things. Their friction on set was so bad that they both resorted to shouting and screaming at each other on set. Working together was unbearable for them, and they could not stand each other. I got to a point where Ryan Gosling tried to replace Rachel. He asked the creators of the show for another actress to read her lines. All this happened behind the scenes of the movie, and their fans didn't even suspect a thing when they watched the movie. Just like most fans of romantic movies, people expected them to fall in love in real life. Well, they clearly settled their differences because they ended up falling in love after the movie was released. Ryan Gosling and Rachel dated for a whole 3 years. It's surprising to know that they could act like they were deeply in love in a movie while they were fighting and screaming behind the screens. They certainly did a good job of hiding how much they disliked each other at that time. Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes in Romeo and Juliet. In the early 1990s, two of Hollywood's most promising stars came together to act as a couple in the modern adaptation of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes were both at the early stages of their careers, and they were chosen to star in the tragic love story Romeo and Juliet. Because of how talented and skilled they both were, they joined creative forces and brought the story of Romeo and Juliet to life. However, filming for the movie didn't go as smoothly as it seemed. It was said they both didn't get along behind the scenes. As much as they seemed like a perfect match in the movie, their clashing personalities got in the way of their work relationship behind the scenes. Claire Danes was a reserved and introverted 19-year-old, while DiCaprio was a 22-year-old who loved to play pranks with the cast and crew. Apparently, they didn't exactly like each other while they were filming, but they still found a way to act like they were actually in love in the movie. She thought he was immature, while he saw her as someone who was annoyingly reserved and uptight. In the end, they both really did a great job in ignoring their differences and focusing on the movie. At the end of the day, their incredible acting convinced their viewers that they were really two teenagers who were hopelessly in love and willing to die for each other. People who had watched the movie didn't know how much they disliked each other in real life. Little did they know that the movie stars had to fight and negotiate their way through the filming stage. It is good that they were able to settle their personal issues. They both garnered tons of fans after the movie was released. Romeo and Juliet turned out to be the movie that set them up for success in the movie industry. Nick Nolte and Julia Roberts in I Love Trouble. In the early 1990s, one of Hollywood's leading ladies, Julia Roberts, was selected to appear in the romantic film I Love Trouble. However, she didn't exactly like the actor that was chosen to be her love interest in the film. Nick Nolte, who was also one of Hollywood's great actors at the time, was chosen to act as her husband in the movie. The romantic film was released in 1994, and anyone who watched the movie at the time would have been shocked to find out that they didn't get along while filming. They both portrayed their characters well and appeared as a strong team in the movie. However, they were not such a great team behind the scenes. Nick Nolte and Julia Roberts had a hard time during the filming stages of the movie. They didn't get along well, and this made it even more difficult for them to play their roles. With the help of the creators of I Love Trouble, they were able to look past the way they truly felt about each other for the greater good of the movie. In the end, they were able to create a movie that was loved by their viewers. In a later interview with New York Times, Julia Roberts spoke about how she felt about her co-star. In her words, "He is charming and nice, but also completely disgusting." Nolte responded in a later interview by saying, "It's not nice to call someone disgusting, but she's not a nice person. Everyone knows that." Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn in Four Christmases. Four Christmases was among the many comedy films that were released in 2008. Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn, who were the stars of the movie, acted as a couple. The movie is basically about their Christmas celebration in four of their divorced parents' houses. Even though they were a great couple in the movie, they were not even friends off screens. Apparently, their acting styles were completely different, and this made it extremely difficult for them to agree in certain scenes. Everyone who was involved in the filming process noticed how difficult it was for them to act as a couple. It was a miracle that they were able to complete the filming process in the end. So which facts about these actors caught your interest the most? Do let us know in the comments section below, and check out the next video. When it comes to famous models who have explored several relationships, Naomi Campbell's name tops the list. From dating oil heirs and business tycoons to dating pop stars, Naomi Campbell has gotten romantically involved with several men. While her dating escapes were harmless for a while, it got to the point where her modeling career almost came crashing down as a result of her relationship with the wrong people and her choices. This video covers everything you need to know about Naomi Campbell's romantic escapades and how her career was affected by her decisions. How Naomi Campbell catwalked into international fame. In the 1990s, the fashion and movie industry gained a lot of talented young people who were ready to dominate their industry. Naomi Campbell was one of them. Right from the age of 10, Naomi fell in love with ballet and was enrolled in the Italia Conti Academy of Theater Arts. She spent most of her childhood with her mother, who was a modern dancer in Rome at the time. Naomi practically grew up watching entertainers wow a crowd of people through their craft, and this inspired her. For most of her teen years, she focused on dancing, and she was able to find dancing gigs in no time. She even appeared in Bob Marley and Culture Club's music videos. Her dance career progressed steadily, but she had no idea that she was later going to receive an opportunity that would change her career path completely. In April of 1986, she was spotted by Beth Bolt, the head of a then-popular model agency. As soon as she signed the contract with Synchro Agency, her whole life changed. She was also smart enough to maximize her opportunities by placing herself strategically in the midst of some of the most in-demand models at the time. Since then, Naomi Campbell has modeled for famous designers like Gianni Versace, Christian Dior, Prada, Chanel, and many more. She has also appeared on the cover of magazines like Vogue. Aside from modeling, Naomi also ventured into acting, singing, and business. She unapologetically embraced the art of modeling and became one of the fashion industry's most talented assets for so many years until her career started declining. Like other successful models, she had her fair share of career challenges. She suffered from racial discrimination at a point and also struggled with addictions. But the one aspect of her life that played a massive role in her downward spiral of her career was her romantic life. Naomi's shocking dating profile.
When it comes to Naomi Campbell's dating life, she's known for dating rich and highly influential men. The problem is that some of these influential men have gotten involved in dirty businesses in the past. Some have reputations that could potentially damage her reputation as well. Also, it was rumored that her addiction to drugs and smoking in the early years of her career was a result of negative influence by some of her ex-boyfriends. Her first public relationship was in 1992 when she got into a brief relationship with the Hollywood star Robert De Niro. The following year, she began dating U2 bass player Adam Clayton. They got engaged in 1993, but they split the following year and went their separate ways. In 1995, she got romantically involved with the popular actor Leonardo DiCaprio, but they ended things shortly after. Naomi later got involved with the boss of Benetton, Flavio Briatore. After they broke up, she dated oil heir Badr Jaffer in 2006. Since then, she's dated over 7 men. From oil magnates and pop stars to business tycoons, her love life has truly been eventful. Aside from all of these, Naomi is known as one of the few Hollywood stars who seems to be uninterested in settling down. It's said that she slept with several men within and outside the industry. As much as she is just trying to live her life and have fun, jumping from one man to another makes her seem like an unstable person. Men in the industry can sleep around with multiple women and probably get away with it, but a woman who does the same is frowned upon. Unfortunately, Naomi Campbell's adventurous romantic life has landed her career in trouble. Most brands want to be associated with women who have an image and reputation of discipline and stability. Sadly, Naomi Campbell's romantic history passes an entirely different message across. Her career has not remained the same over the years, and it's safe to say that the fact that she's slept around so much over the years has greatly affected her career. When romance turned sour, how Naomi's relationship almost ended her career. Naomi Campbell almost lost her entire career in 2007 when she was allegedly found in Jeffrey Epstein's contact book. During that period, he had been taken into custody for several notorious acts. During the investigation, Naomi Campbell was allegedly seen in his contact book, flight logs, and pictures. Her career was blossoming at the time, and the last thing she needed was a legal problem. Thankfully, she was innocent and not involved in his dealings. She revealed that she only knew Epstein after being introduced to him by her ex-boyfriend Flavio Briatore. So she became friends with him because of her relationship with Flavio Briatore. This is an example of how her romantic relationship almost damaged her entire career. All of the negative rumors that were being spread during that period were false, and they certainly affected her career in a way. Naomi Campbell's untold legal issues. Even though Naomi Campbell has undoubtedly made a name for herself as a phenomenal model, she's not as flawless as she appears on the outside. She has been struggling with anger issues for years and has been convicted of assault on several occasions. From throwing phones and personal organizers at her employees to kicking and spitting on police officers at airports. Naomi Campbell has failed to control her anger on several occasions, and this has certainly caused a dent in her reputation and career. After pleading guilty in Toronto and agreeing to attend anger management classes in the 2000s, over 8 of her employees came forward with claims of abuse. As a result of her assault cases, she was later told to perform community service and was fined a huge sum of money. She was also banned for life from British Airways for kicking and spitting on police officers because of her lost luggage. It's difficult to look away from her behavioral flaws, especially because of how pronounced her anger issues have been over the years. Her talent, hard work, and connections are not enough to cover her bad side, and it's clear that she needs to work on herself. The effect of her public displays of anger and legal issues on her career have been evident over the years. While some brands have chosen to look past her legal issues and work with her, some have decided not to work with her at all. Where is Naomi Campbell now? Over the past few years, Naomi Campbell has been focusing more on making an impact through activism and charity. She has contributed to breast cancer research works and has donated to victims of natural disasters all over the world. Her modeling career is not the same as it used to be, but she still models for popular designers and appears occasionally on the covers of magazines. She also has a YouTube channel where she has conversations with several guests about a variety of topics. Over the years, she's been able to inspire several young women through words of advice and her resilience. She remains one of the most phenomenal models the modeling industry has seen. Most of the brands she's worked with have good things to say about her as well. Aside from the changes that may have occurred in her career recently, her personal life has also transformed. Naomi announced in 2021 that she was giving birth to a daughter. Following the rumors about the child being adopted, she revealed that her baby was not adopted. Naomi Campbell is still respected and celebrated for her immense contribution to the entertainment industry.
3 decades have passed since the world bid farewell to Elizabeth Montgomery, the enchanting star best known for her role as the lovable witch Samantha Stevens on Bewitched. But even years after her departure, whispers and rumors about the private life of this Hollywood icon have lingered, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Now, in an unexpected turn of events, her children have come forward, ready to confirm the rumors that have captivated fans and skeptics alike. Elizabeth Montgomery's life, both on and off the screen, was filled with the kind of glamour and intrigue that could rival any Hollywood script. From her captivating performances to her tumultuous personal life, Elizabeth was a woman of contrasts, embodying both the lighthearted charm of her on-screen persona and the complex, often challenging reality of her off-screen existence. From her groundbreaking role in Bewitched to her passionate advocacy work, Elizabeth Montgomery's impact on Hollywood and beyond is undeniable. But as we delve deeper into her story, we uncover a tale of love, loss, and the relentless pursuit of happiness amidst the glare of the public eye. Father complex. In the heart of Los Angeles, under the bright lights of Hollywood, Elizabeth Montgomery's journey began, not on the stages of Broadway or the studios of a television set, but within the walls of a home steeped in the legacy of show business. Born on April 15, 1933, to Robert Montgomery, a revered figure in the golden age of cinema, and Broadway actress Elizabeth Allen, Elizabeth was destined for a life far from ordinary. Her father, a man of considerable influence and talent, shaped the early contours of her world, setting the stage for a complex relationship that would define much of her life. Robert Montgomery, known for his roles in films that captivated the hearts of America, harbored a vision for his daughter that strayed from the footlights and glamour of Hollywood. Despite his own success, he envisioned a life for Elizabeth that mirrored the traditional values of the time, a life of domesticity away from the unpredictable tides of acting. This vision, however, clashed with the dreams of a young Elizabeth, whose aspirations reached beyond the confines of a conventional existence. The tension between father and daughter was palpable, a silent battle of wills that played out against the backdrop of Elizabeth's burgeoning career. In 1951, Elizabeth's determination led her to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, a move that marked the beginning of her defiance against her father's wishes. It was here, amidst the scripts and stages, that Elizabeth began to carve out her own identity, separate from the shadow of her father's legacy. Despite Robert's reservations, he could not deny the talent that pulsed through his daughter's veins. Reluctantly, he offered her a role in his television program, Robert Montgomery Presents, a gesture that was both an acknowledgement of her talent and a bid to keep her under his watchful eye. Elizabeth's performance, however, was met with critical acclaim, a testament to her innate ability to captivate an audience, much like her father. Yet, the approval she sought from Robert remained elusive. His critiques were harsh, often focusing on her mistakes rather than her achievements. This lack of approval became a driving force for Elizabeth, pushing her to prove her worth not just to her father, but to the world. Her marriage in 1954 to Frederick Kamen was seen as a step towards the life Robert had envisioned for her, yet it was a union that would not last. Elizabeth's spirit, too vibrant and ambitious to be contained by the expectations of others, led her down a path of self-discovery and independence. The complexities of Elizabeth and Robert's relationship were further compounded by their differing political views, adding layers of discord to an already strained dynamic. Elizabeth's liberal leanings stood in stark contrast to Robert's conservative stance, creating a chasm that would never fully close. The divorce of her parents and Robert's subsequent remarriage only served to deepen the wounds, leaving scars that would shape the course of Elizabeth's personal and professional life. As Elizabeth stepped out from under the shadow of her father's disapproval, her career began to flourish. Her roles on Broadway and in television showcased her versatility as an actress, earning her the admiration of audiences and critics alike. Yet, it was her role as Samantha Stevens in Bewitched that would immortalize her in the annals of television history. This role, emblematic of her charm and talent, was a far cry from the life of obscurity her father had once envisioned for her. Love life. Elizabeth Montgomery's heart was as captivating as her performances, leading her through a journey of love that was as varied and dramatic as any script she performed. Her personal life, marked by a series of marriages and relationships, reflected a quest for love that was both passionate and tumultuous. Her first marriage to Frederick Gallatin Cammon in 1954 was a brief chapter in her life, a union that seemed to fulfill her father's wish for her to lead a conventional life. However, the marriage quickly dissolved as Elizabeth's aspirations and dreams could not be contained within the confines of a traditional role. This early experience in matrimony was a prelude to the complex love life that would unfold in the years to come. In 1956, Elizabeth found love again with actor Gig Young, a man known for his charm and talent, but also for his struggles with alcoholism. This marriage, too, was fraught with challenges, as Elizabeth grappled with Young's addiction and the tumult it brought into their lives. Despite her efforts to save the marriage, it ended in divorce in 1963, leaving Elizabeth to navigate the waters of love and loss once more. It was on the set of the crime drama Johnny Cool in 1963 that Elizabeth's heart was captured once again, this time by director William Asher. This relationship blossomed into a partnership both personal and professional, leading to marriage and the birth of 3 children. William played a pivotal role in Elizabeth's career, encouraging her to take on the role of Samantha Stevens in Bewitched, a show that would become a defining moment in her career and a testament to their collaborative spirit. The success of Bewitched brought joy and fulfillment to Elizabeth's life, but the pressures of fame and the demands of work began to strain her marriage to William. The couple's relationship faced its ultimate test when Elizabeth embarked on an affair with director Richard Michaels during the show's final season. This affair, coupled with William's infidelity, led to the dissolution of their marriage in 1973, marking the end of a significant chapter in Elizabeth's life. In the years that followed, Elizabeth's search for love continued, leading her into the arms of actor Robert Foxworth. Their relationship, built on mutual respect and affection, blossomed into marriage in 1993. This union provided Elizabeth with a sense of stability and companionship that had eluded her in her previous marriages. Together, they shared a life until Elizabeth's untimely death in 1995. Her charm. Elizabeth Montgomery's allure extended far beyond the television screens that showcased her magical performances. With a blend of grace, beauty, and an undeniable spark of vivacity, she captivated not only the audiences of her time, but also some of the most iconic figures in Hollywood. Her charm was not just a facet of her on-screen persona, it was an intrinsic part of her being, weaving its way through her personal and professional life with equal measure. In the early 1960s, Hollywood was a constellation of stars, and Elizabeth shone brightly among them. Her relationships with industry giants such as Elvis Presley, Dean Martin, and Gary Cooper spoke volumes about her magnetic appeal. These connections, however, were not mere tabloid fodder. They were reflections of a woman whose presence was as compelling off-screen as it was on. Elizabeth's interactions with these men were complex, marked by the highs and lows of any relationship under the scrutiny of the public eye. Her friendship with Elvis Presley, for instance, was emblematic of her ability to form genuine connections with those around her. Despite Presley's status as a cultural icon, their relationship was grounded in mutual respect and admiration, a testament to Elizabeth's down-to-earth nature. Dean Martin and Gary Cooper, too, were drawn to Elizabeth's radiant charm. Martin, known for his smooth demeanor and quick wit, found in Elizabeth a kindred spirit. Their camaraderie was a blend of affection and admiration, a bond that transcended the superficial interactions often seen in Hollywood's social circles. Cooper, on the other hand, was captivated by Elizabeth's beauty and talent, a fascination that was evident to those who observed their interactions. Rising star. Elizabeth Montgomery's ascent to stardom was not a product of mere chance or familial connections. It was the culmination of talent, perseverance, and an unwavering dedication to her craft. From her early days in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts to her breakthrough roles on television and Broadway, Elizabeth's journey was marked by a relentless pursuit of excellence that would eventually establish her as one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses. After her initial appearances on her father's television program, Robert Montgomery Presents, Elizabeth began to carve out a niche for herself in the competitive landscape of 1950s and 60s television. Her early work included guest spots on popular shows of the time such as Studio One in Hollywood and The Twilight Zone, where she showcased her versatility and range as an actress. These roles, though small, were instrumental in honing her skills and building her reputation in the industry. Elizabeth's Broadway debut came in 1953 with Late Love, for which she received critical acclaim. This experience on the stage proved to be invaluable, offering her a platform to explore different facets of her acting ability and to connect with audiences in a more intimate setting. Her performance in Late Love was a turning point, signaling her readiness to take on more challenging and prominent roles. The early 1960s saw Elizabeth transitioning to more significant parts in both television and film. Her role in the 1963 movie Johnny Cool was particularly noteworthy, not only for her compelling performance, but also for the professional and personal relationships it helped forge. It was during the filming of Johnny Cool that Elizabeth met William Asher, the man who would become her third husband and the director of Bewitched. Bewitched, which premiered in 1964, was a turning point in Elizabeth's career. The show, a blend of comedy, fantasy, and domestic life, was a perfect showcase for her charm, comedic timing, and ability to engage audiences. As Samantha Stevens, a witch married to an ordinary mortal, Elizabeth brought a mix of warmth, wit, and whimsy to the role, making the character beloved by viewers around the world. The show's success catapulted her to new heights of fame, firmly establishing her as a household name. Bewitched behind the scenes. Bewitched not only marked a significant chapter in Elizabeth Montgomery's career, but also became a cultural touchstone of the 1960s, blending humor, magic, and societal commentary in a way that had never been seen before on television. Behind the enchanting episodes that captivated millions lay a world of creativity, challenges, and innovation, much of it driven by Elizabeth herself, alongside her then-husband, director and producer William Asher. The inception of Bewitched was as serendipitous as some of the plot lines it would later explore. William Asher, already an established director with a keen eye for television's evolving landscape, envisioned a show that could harness Elizabeth's unique blend of charisma and comedic talent. The concept, a witch married to an ordinary mortal navigating the trials and tribulations of suburban life, was groundbreaking. It not only offered a platform for humor, but also subtly challenged the era's norms and expectations about marriage, gender roles, and domestic life. Elizabeth's involvement in Bewitched went far beyond her role in front of the camera. She was instrumental in shaping the character of Samantha Stevens, ensuring that she was not just a caricature of a witch, but a strong, independent woman with her own thoughts and feelings. This nuanced portrayal was revolutionary, offering viewers a character who was both magical and relatable, a testament to Elizabeth's vision and depth as an actress. The casting of Bewitched was another area where Elizabeth's influence was felt. The chemistry between Samantha and her mortal husband, Darren Stevens, was crucial to the show's success. Dick York, the original actor cast as Darren, shared an undeniable rapport with Elizabeth, contributing to the show's initial popularity. However, York's departure due to health issues and the subsequent casting of Dick Sargent presented challenges, both in terms of on-screen dynamics and audience acceptance. Elizabeth's professionalism and adaptability were key in this transition, helping to maintain the show's quality and charm. Behind the scenes, Bewitched was a hub of innovation, particularly in the special effects used to bring Samantha's magical antics to life. At a time when television special effects were in their infancy, the show pushed the boundaries of what was technically possible. Elizabeth often found herself acting against invisible forces, a testament to her skill and imagination as an actress. These effects, though now dated by modern standards, were a significant part of the show's appeal, adding an element of whimsy and wonder that set it apart from other sitcoms of the time. Controversies and challenges. Elizabeth Montgomery's career, while illustrious and filled with notable achievements, was not without its share of controversies and challenges. These moments not only tested her resilience, but also highlighted her ability to navigate the complexities of fame and personal conviction in an industry known for its relentless scrutiny. One of the most significant challenges Elizabeth faced was the societal expectations placed on women during the era in which she rose to fame. Despite her success on Bewitched, she encountered the pervasive issue of typecasting, a common plight for actors who achieve a high level of recognition in a particular role. Elizabeth's portrayal of Samantha Stevens was iconic, but it also became a double-edged sword, making it difficult for her to find roles that diverged from the lovable witch persona audiences had grown to adore. This typecasting was a hurdle in her career, pushing her to seek out roles that would showcase her versatility and depth as an actress. Beyond the screen, Elizabeth's personal life and relationships were a constant source of media attention, often leading to public scrutiny and speculation. Her marriages, particularly her union with William Asher, were subject to intense observation, with the pressures of working together on Bewitched and managing a family life in the public eye proving to be a formidable challenge. The dissolution of their marriage was fodder for tabloids, illustrating the difficulty of maintaining privacy and personal happiness amidst fame. Elizabeth's political activism and outspoken nature also set her apart in an industry that often preferred its stars to remain neutral on contentious issues. She was a vocal advocate for various causes, including women's rights and the anti-war movement during the Vietnam era. Her participation in political and social causes was bold for its time, reflecting her commitment to her beliefs despite potential backlash from conservative audiences and industry figures. This activism, while controversial, underscored her integrity and willingness to use her platform for advocacy, even when it was not the popular or easy path to take. Moreover, Elizabeth faced challenges within the industry's changing landscape, particularly as television and film evolved in the late 20th century. The advent of new media and changing audience preferences meant that she had to continually adapt and seek out projects that resonated with both her artistic sensibilities and the shifting cultural zeitgeist. Her ability to navigate these changes, taking on roles in television movies and miniseries that tackled complex themes, demonstrated her adaptability and enduring appeal as an actress. Advocacy and charitable works. Beyond the sparkle of Hollywood and the acclaim of her acting career, Elizabeth Montgomery dedicated herself to a range of causes, using her fame as a platform to advocate for social justice, equality, and humanitarian efforts. Her commitment to advocacy and charitable works reflected a deep sense of compassion and a desire to effect positive change in the world. Elizabeth was particularly passionate about women's rights, lending her voice and support to the feminist movement at a time when it was gaining momentum in the United States. Her advocacy went beyond mere endorsements. She actively participated in events, rallies, and campaigns aimed at promoting gender equality and empowering women. This involvement was not only indicative of her belief in the cause, but also of her willingness to stand up for what she believed in, regardless of potential professional risks. Her commitment to social issues extended to the fight against AIDS, a cause she championed during the height of the epidemic when fear and stigma surrounded the disease. Elizabeth was among the early Hollywood figures to lend her support to AIDS research and awareness, participating in fundraisers, speaking out for compassion towards those affected, and contributing to organizations dedicated to finding a cure. Her efforts in this area demonstrated her empathy and her courage in addressing a crisis that many in her industry were hesitant to confront publicly. Elizabeth's advocacy also embraced the LGBTQ+ community at a time when gay rights were a contentious issue. She used her visibility to advocate for acceptance and equality, participating in events like the Los Angeles Gay Pride Parade alongside her Bewitched co-star Dick Sargent, who had come out as gay. Her involvement in such events was a powerful statement of solidarity and support for the LGBTQ+ community, reflecting her belief in love and equality for all. In addition to her work in social and political advocacy, Elizabeth was involved in various charitable endeavors aimed at improving the lives of those in need. She supported organizations and initiatives that focused on education, children's welfare, and healthcare, demonstrating a broad commitment to humanitarian causes. Her charitable work was driven by a genuine desire to make a difference, a testament to her character and her understanding of the responsibility that came with her public platform. illness, and death. Elizabeth Montgomery's final months were marked by a private battle with illness that few outside her immediate circle were aware of. In early 1995, after a prolific career and a life dedicated to activism and advocacy, Elizabeth faced her most personal and challenging role yet, a fight against colon cancer. This battle was fought away from the public eye, reflecting her desire for privacy and dignity in her final days. Elizabeth's diagnosis came at a time when she was still active in her career and philanthropic efforts. She had continued to work on television films and participate in charitable activities, showing no signs of slowing down. However, the onset of her illness would soon require her to step back from her public life. Despite the severity of her condition, Elizabeth chose to confront her diagnosis with the same grace and resilience that had characterized her approach to previous challenges in her life. The cancer was aggressive and had spread rapidly, leaving Elizabeth and her loved ones with few options for treatment. In the weeks following her diagnosis, she made the decision to spend her remaining time at her Beverly Hills home, surrounded by family and close friends. This period was one of reflection, love, and quiet goodbyes, a stark contrast to the public life she had led for so many years. On May 18, 1995, Elizabeth Montgomery passed away in the early hours of the morning at the age of 62. Her death marked the end of an era for fans of Bewitched and those who had admired her work in film, television, and her advocacy efforts. The news of her passing was met with an outpouring of grief and tributes from around the world, highlighting the impact she had made both on and off the screen. Elizabeth's funeral was a private affair, attended by family, friends, and colleagues who had shared in her life and career. In keeping with her wishes, the ceremony was a celebration of her life and achievements rather than a somber occasion. Her legacy was honored by those who knew her best, with memories shared of her warmth, talent, and unwavering spirit. There was something about the adventures on the set of Gilligan's Island that kept television viewers glued to their screens in the 1960s. The humor, fun, and drama that these 7 castaways brought to screens as they tried to survive on an island were undoubtedly interesting. However, just like any popular show, there have been several rumors about feuds, relationships among the cast of the show, and even the things that took place behind the scenes. Several decades after the show was canceled, Dawn Wells, who played the role of the lovable Mary Ann, finally confirmed some of these rumors. The alleged romantic entanglement between Dawn Wells and Russell Johnson. Gilligan's Island stood out for a lot of reasons, from the interesting storyline to the bond that the cast members shared on screens. However, after several episodes, some viewers began to suspect that there may have been more than a surface bond between some of the cast members, perhaps a romance that was brewing behind the scenes. People suspected that some of the cast members may have been secretly into each other, but at the time, most people were suspicious about the relationship between Dawn Wells and Russell Johnson, who played the role of the professor. They both had a certain level of chemistry on screen, and some people were beginning to think that they liked each other in real life. Although it is absolutely normal for fans of a show to suspect that some cast members of a show are dating in real life, especially because of the nature of their roles, the Dawn Wells and Russell Johnson love affair rumor was spreading like wildfire. Several people were convinced that they were an item behind closed doors. However, despite the suspicions from fans, none of the cast or crew members addressed the rumors. It remained a rumor until Dawn Wells decided to address it in a 2016 interview. Speaking to Oprah, "Where Are They Now?" Dawn Wells answered the question that had been brewing in the hearts of Gilligan Island fans for decades. Her words came as a shock, and also a confirmation of the rumors. It seemed like the fans were not wrong all along. Dawn Wells admitted that she did admire Johnson, perhaps a little more than she admired her other male castmates. In her words, "He had the best sense of humor. He was the funniest, and he was a hunk." But it all ended in admiration. They didn't get into a relationship. She further explained why. "If either one of us had been single or both of us had been single, there would have been some chemistry. The duo may have actually been an item behind the scenes if they were both single, but neither of them was single at the time." Russell Johnson was in a decade-long marriage at the time, and Dawn Wells was also happily married. Perhaps, if the timing was a little different, they may have been more than just colleagues. They never had a romantic relationship off screens, and they remained friends till he passed away in 2014. Tina Louise's movie star complex. When Gilligan's Island was gaining popularity in the 60s, people couldn't help but notice how the cast members worked as a team to deliver amazing performances. However, it seemed like there was an odd cast member for some reason. Tina Louise, who played the role of Ginger, didn't seem to blend very much with the rest of the cast members. Sure, she was an amazing actress, but it didn't seem like she was fully immersed in the show like the others. Tina Louise, who had received a Golden Globe Award for her role in God's Little Acre, was already a well-known movie star at the time, so there was no doubt that she could play her role excellently. However, while the show was still running, and even after it was canceled, there were several rumors about a tense relationship between Tina Louise and other cast members. There were suspicions of tension and even conflicts between her and the rest of the cast members, but none of them ever confirmed or addressed the rumors. Several decades later, Dawn Wells was interviewed by Studio 10 in 2019, and it was during that interview that she spoke about Tina Louise. According to her, Tina Louise was not as invested in the show as the other cast members were. Dawn Wells claimed that the actress felt like she was already a movie star, and she automatically expected the show to be about her. Her expectations and beliefs sort of affected the way she related with her cast members, but contrary to the rumors, Tina Louise was not difficult to work with. In Dawn Wells' words, "Tina thought she was a movie star, and I don't think she realized what it was that there were 7 of us. She was never difficult. She was never part of the company, though." The fact that the actress didn't show up for the first reunion movie, Rescue from Gilligan's Island, raised some eyebrows. All the other cast members cheerfully showed up and gave the viewers a show. All except Tina Louise. Dawn Wells claimed that Tina probably didn't want to be associated with the show. She said she tried reaching out to Tina Louise on several occasions, but all to no avail. According to her, Tina Louise didn't want to admit that she was on Gilligan's Island. An off-screen rivalry? At a certain point, it seemed like Tina Louise and Dawn Wells had a rocky relationship off-screen, because Dawn Wells' character was getting more attention than Tina's character. It was said that people were more drawn to Dawn Wells' wholesome character, and this led to her garnering thousands of fans. During the show, Dawn received over 5,000 fan letters a week, but Tina didn't receive nearly as much love as Dawn did, and people thought that this automatically made Tina Louise jealous and bitter towards Dawn. Some claimed that Tina felt overshadowed by Dawn's popularity. In later interviews, Dawn Wells didn't confirm the rumors about the alleged rivalry between her and Tina. She just made it clear that they maintained a cordial relationship on set and worked together to make the show a success. It seemed like there was no serious issue between the both of them, because Dawn spoke highly of her during interviews, saying, "She was wonderful. I don't think you could have cast anyone better." Alleged contract disputes. One of the rumors that spread rapidly about Gilligan's Island was the rumor about remuneration. It was alleged that some of the cast members were not satisfied with their pay, and some had contract disputes with the producers of the show. Bob Denver and Dawn Wells were said to be the 2 cast members who had had these contract issues, and a lot of people were curious to know if these rumors were true. In a later interview with Studio 10, Dawn addressed the issue of payment on the show. She made it clear that the salary didn't make any of the cast members rich, but it was okay. In her words, "You got a good salary while you were working, and the residuals were okay, but it's not like what goes on today. I'm very grateful. I mean, you save your money and you spend it at the same time, but it was financially great, but not rich." Gilligan's Island cast members were certainly not paid as well as actors as being paid these days. Is there a Gilligan's Island curse? Over the years, there has been a rumor about something called the Gilligan's Island curse, which is associated with the misfortunes of the cast members. After the show, most of the cast members suffered from typecasting. They found it difficult to find meaningful roles, and most of them lost their careers shortly after. But this was not all. It seemed like tragedy befell them one after another after the show. It may be a coincidence or just fate, but most of the cast members died due to similar causes. However, there is no solid evidence that proves that there is actually a Gilligan's Island curse. Speaking of tragedies that befell 60s actors, Carol Wayne also suffered an unexpected and shocking fate. Find out what happened to the actress in this video. If there was any show in the history of Hollywood that pushed the boundaries of what was possible and acceptable to the public, Married with Children is definitely that show. The writers and producers were no doubt audacious and bold in the choice of the content, themes, and drama they put out. It broke Hollywood in two, the ones who loved them for it and the ones who hated them for it. Which of the sides won? Well, a series of factors clustered together led to the sad decline and cancellation of this once great show. Controversial episodes. It's the late 80s, and television is about to witness a seismic shift in comedy. Along comes Married with Children, a sitcom that was like nothing audiences had seen before. Edgy, irreverent, and unapologetically crude, the show wasted no time in shocking viewers with its controversial content. From the very beginning, Married with Children established itself as a master of risque humor. It was a show that dared to push the boundaries of what was acceptable on primetime television. The patriarch of the Bundy family, Al, played brilliantly by Ed O'Neill, was a shoe salesman with a chip on his shoulder, and he didn't hold back his contempt for his wife, Peggy, and his two kids, Kelly and Bud. In one particularly controversial episode titled I'll See You in Court, Al recounts a time when he and Peggy were intimate, and he mistook her for another woman. This awkward and uncomfortable situation is played for laughs, but it was far from what most people were accustomed to seeing on their TV screens. Another example of how the show produced controversies was in the 5th episode of the first season. It was called The Poker Game. And in this episode, Al and his buddies invite Peggy to join their poker game to prove women can't handle the pressure. As expected, it leads to a series of sexist jokes and digs at women, which drew criticism for reinforcing gender stereotypes. Yet again, much later in episode 22 of the 11th season, an episode called The England Show aired. In this controversial series finale, Al dreams about what life would have been like if he never married Peggy. The dream sequence features a dark and violent alternate reality, leading some viewers to find it too intense for a comedy series. These episodes were just a glimpse of the many instances where Married with Children pushed the envelope with its humor, touching on topics that were considered taboo for network television at the time. Throughout its run, the show tackled taboo subjects and explored sexual innuendos with reckless abandon. It seemed like no topic was off limits for the writers, whether it was sex, infidelity, or bodily functions. In the episode, A Shoe Room with a View, Al goes to a nudist beach with his friends, leading to a slew of hilariously scandalous scenarios that had some viewers gasping in disbelief. As the show continued to deliver its raunchy humor, it was met with a wave of both praise and condemnation. Some viewers found the no-holds-barred approach refreshing and hilarious, embracing the show's audacious take on family life. But others weren't so forgiving. Concerned parents and conservative groups were up in arms, decrying the show as inappropriate for television and unsuitable for impressionable minds. And it wasn't just viewers and critics who had strong reactions. Advertisers and sponsors often found themselves in a precarious position. The show's controversial content led to some companies backing away, unwilling to risk their reputation by being associated with such audacious humor. This led to boycotts and financial strain for the network, further fueling the controversy surrounding the show. Even the Federal Communications Commission stepped in, slapping the show with fines for its indecent content. The FCC's involvement only added fuel to the fire, with supporters of the show championing its right to free speech and creative expression, while its detractors accused it of crossing the line. Despite, or perhaps because of all the controversy, Married with Children carved out its place in television history. It challenged norms and proved that audiences were hungry for something different. It was a show that embraced its irreverent nature, leaving a lasting impact on the sitcom landscape. The show became a whirlwind of audacious humor, fierce debates, and a battle for creative freedom. Whether you loved it or loathed it, one thing's for sure: Married with Children will forever be remembered for its unapologetic approach to comedy and its willingness to push the boundaries of what was acceptable on TV. But these controversies were only the beginning. They led to a slippery slope of more flaws and loopholes in the show. Dysfunctional family theme. The show's central figure, Al Bundy, was the quintessential disgruntled shoe salesman trapped in a loveless marriage with his wife, Peggy. Their interactions were far from affectionate and instead were filled with biting sarcasm and verbal sparring. If that wasn't enough, their kids, Kelly and Bud, were no angels either, often getting into mischief and causing headaches for their parents. In episode after episode, the Bundys engaged in inappropriate behavior that would make any traditional family cringe. For instance, in Prom Queen the sequel, Al and Peggy steal the prom queen title from their daughter Kelly in a twisted quest for their lost youth. Not exactly the kind of parental role models you'd expect to find on a family sitcom, but wait, there's more. In the episode Her Cups Runneth Over, Al gets caught peeking at his neighbor's well-endowed wife, leading to a hilarious yet eyebrow-raising exploration of voyeurism. It's moments like these that had critics wagging their fingers, decrying the show for normalizing disrespectful behavior within the family unit. And let's not forget about the Bundys' utter lack of support for each other's dreams and aspirations. In Peggy Turns 300, Peggy attempts to fulfill her lifelong dream of becoming a millionaire by starting a trashy talk show. Instead of encouragement, her family mocks and belittles her, further solidifying the dysfunctional image of the Bundy household. With each episode, Married with Children seemed to relish in dismantling the traditional notions of familial love and support. While some viewers appreciated the show's audacity and dark humor, others saw it as a negative influence on impressionable minds, particularly on younger viewers who might not understand the show's satirical intent. This controversial portrayal of family dynamics extended beyond the Bundys themselves. Their interactions with neighbors and friends, like the constantly feuding Rhodes couple, further showcased a world filled with disrespect and pettiness. And yet, it was this very disregard for traditional family values that made the show a hit with its target audience, who appreciated its unapologetically irreverent take on family life. While Married with Children found a loyal fan base and its place in television history, its critics remained steadfast, arguing that the show undermined the importance of love, respect, and support within a family. It was a tug of war between those who believed in the power of satire and those who thought it was a dangerous precedent to set on primetime TV. In the end, Married with Children proved to be a polarizing force in the world of sitcoms. Its depiction of the Bundy family may have shattered the conventional mold, but it also left a trail of controversy and debates that would persist long after the show's end. Love it or loathe it, there's no denying that the Bundys certainly knew how to leave a lasting impression on viewers and TV history alike. But this was only the tip of the iceberg. Feminism backlash. Married with Children stirred the pot when it came to feminism. Peggy Bundy, played brilliantly by Katie Sagal, was the embodiment of the untraditional housewife. With her bouffant hair, leopard print dresses, and penchant for lounging on the couch, she was the antithesis of the typical nurturing and domesticated TV mom. And that's precisely what made her such a lightning rod for feminist criticism. Feminist groups took issue with Peggy's portrayal, seeing her as a stereotype perpetuating the image of a lazy and materialistic woman who lacked ambition. In episode after episode, Peggy's primary interests seemed to revolve around shopping and watching TV, which some feminists argued reinforced outdated gender roles. In Buck Has a Bellyache, Peggy's shopping habits lead to financial strain, and the show used this as comedic fodder, leading some to question if it was demeaning to women. But it wasn't just Peggy's love of shopping that irked feminists. It was her relationship with Al that had them up in arms. Their marriage often resembled a battleground of sarcastic jabs and put-downs, with Peggy being the sassy and indifferent spouse. In The Dance Show, Al tries to reconnect with Peggy by taking dance lessons, but instead, she dismisses his efforts and derails the whole thing. Critics argued that this portrayal of a disinterested and disrespectful wife undermined the concept of equality in a partnership. And let's not forget Peggy's relationship with her daughter Kelly. Peggy's interactions with Kelly often involved sarcastic remarks and belittling comments. In the episode Kelly Bounces Back, Peggy insults Kelly's intelligence, perpetuating the notion of mother-daughter tension. Critics claimed that these portrayals of female characters reinforced negative stereotypes of women being catty and unsupportive of each other. However, supporters of the show argued that Peggy's character was a satirical take on the traditional TV housewife, intended to poke fun at societal expectations of women. They saw Peggy as a strong woman who stood her ground and didn't conform to conventional norms, which was empowering in its own right. Married with Children was a show known for pushing boundaries, and Peggy Bundy was no exception. While some feminists saw her as a regressive portrayal of women, others celebrated her as a subversive figure who challenged the status quo. It was a heated battle of perspectives, with each side passionately defending their point of view. In the end, Peggy Bundy became an emblem of the ongoing struggle for gender equality in the world of television. Whether she was a symbol of defiance or a regressive stereotype, there's no denying that she left a lasting impact on discussions about feminism and representation in popular culture. Like all these wasn't enough, the worst was yet to come. Key cast departures, the dagger that pierced the heart of Married with Children fans when David Faustino, who played the witty and womanizing Bud Bundy, bid adieu after season 10, and Christina Applegate, the ditzy and glamorous Kelly Bundy, took her final bow after season 11, it sent shockwaves through the sitcom's devoted following. Bud Bundy, the mischievous and slick-talking son, was a fan favorite with his quick wit and hilarious schemes. Whether he was trying to impress the ladies or pulling off one of his infamous get-rich-quick schemes, Bud's antics brought a dose of teenage charm to the show. So, when David Faustino made his exit after season 10, it felt like a punch in the gut to the show's loyal viewers. And let's not forget the vivacious and lovable Kelly Bundy, whose dim-witted but endearing personality made her the poster child for the classic dumb blonde stereotype. Her hilarious one-liners and memorable moments made her an irreplaceable part of the Bundy family dynamic. When Christina Applegate decided to depart after season 11, it was as if a bright light had gone out, leaving a void that was hard to fill. These cast departures were more than just actors moving on to new endeavors. They triggered a domino effect that impacted the entire show's vibe and dynamic. The absence of Bud and Kelly altered the dynamic between the remaining family members, Al and Peggy. With the kids gone, the central family unit felt incomplete, and the chemistry that once fueled the show's comedy seemed to fizzle. The show attempted to cope with these departures by introducing new characters, such as Seven, a young boy whom the Bundys adopted. While Seven brought a fresh and quirky element to the show, it couldn't entirely replace the void left by Bud and Kelly's absence. The changes led to mixed reactions from fans, with some embracing the new characters and others longing for the good old days when the Bundy family was intact. The departure of key cast members also signaled that Married with Children was entering a new phase, and with it came an inevitable decline. As the show's original core was disrupted, some viewers felt disconnected from the later seasons, missing the chemistry and camaraderie that had made the show a success in its heyday. Though Married with Children remained on the air for several more seasons, the absence of David Faustino and Christina Applegate left an indelible mark. It was a bittersweet reminder that all good things must come to an end. But even in its later years, the show continued to resonate with its devoted fan base, thanks to the legacy of its unforgettable cast and the hilariously dysfunctional Bundy family. But soon enough, the overreaching arch of the show began to catch up with them. Boycott from sponsors. With its risque jokes, sexual innuendos, and no-holds-barred approach to comedy, Married with Children had a knack for ruffling feathers. Some advertisers and sponsors, fearing backlash from conservative viewers and concerned parents, chose to distance themselves from the show like it was a live grenade. The controversial nature of the content was like waving a red flag in front of a bull, and these companies decided it was safer to take a step back. As a result of the boycotts, the show faced a harsh financial reality. The loss of advertising revenue dealt a blow to the production budget, making it increasingly challenging to maintain the same level of quality that viewers had come to expect. Like a ship taking on water, Married with Children struggled to stay afloat amid the financial storm caused by the departure of sponsors. Moreover, the reduced financial support meant that the show's creative freedom was also at stake. With less money in the coffers, the producers and writers had to tread carefully, fearing that certain content might scare away even more advertisers. This led to a delicate balancing act between staying true to the show's irreverent roots and avoiding the risk of sinking the ship altogether. And let's not forget the added pressure from the network. With the loss of advertisers, the network executives were breathing down the show's neck, demanding changes and trying to play the role of a censor. This tug-of-war between creative freedom and financial stability created a tense atmosphere behind the scenes, and the show's future hung in the balance. Despite these challenges, Married with Children remained resilient, refusing to back down entirely. The show's creators and cast continued to push the envelope even if it meant sailing in choppy waters. But the impact of the sponsorship boycotts was undeniable, as the show struggled to sustain its longevity in an increasingly competitive television landscape. Married with Children will be remembered not only for its groundbreaking comedy, but also for the battles it fought with advertisers and sponsors. It was a show that dared to be different, refusing to compromise its unique voice despite the financial storms that threatened to sink it, and as a result, faced the backlash of sponsors getting spooked. Was the show a daring one, or was it a little bit over the top? This next occurrence answers that question clearly. Tussle with censorship. The battle with censorship and the menacing hand of the Federal Communications Commission was a regular occurrence with the show. Married with Children was no stranger to tangoing with the regulatory authorities. As the show fearlessly dived into the world of controversial humor, it frequently found itself entangled in the web of censorship, and the FCC was quick to play referee, throwing penalty flags left and right. From the first whistle, the show's audacious content had the FCC raising its eyebrows like an overzealous school principal. The FCC's job was to ensure that television content met certain standards of decency and appropriateness for public consumption. But Married and with Children wasn't one to play by the rules, often towing the line between what was deemed acceptable and what was considered too indecent or offensive for primetime television. As a result, the show faced multiple instances of censorship, with some of its more risque jokes and content falling under the FCC's microscope. In episodes like No Chicken, No Check and Nooner or Later, the show's humor tiptoed on the line of what was deemed appropriate for television. These episodes featured innuendos and suggestive content, which had the FCC wielding its mighty fines like a sword. With each slap of the FCC's fine hammer, the financial strain on the show's production and distribution became more pronounced. The fines imposed by the regulatory body were no pocket change. They were hefty blows that left the network reeling. These fines were like sucker punches that put an extra burden on an already financially challenged show. And it wasn't just the fines that took their toll. The constant dance with censorship created a stifling atmosphere on set, with the show's creators and writers having to second-guess their every move. The fear of crossing the line and incurring the FCC's wrath became a constant companion, dampening the show's bold and audacious spirit. But Married with Children wasn't one to back down easily. It kept pushing the boundaries, even if it meant inviting the FCC's gaze. For its supporters, the show's defiance against censorship was a badge of honor, a testament to its commitment to free speech and creative expression. But for others, it was a constant headache, fearing that each episode could be the one to attract the FCC's punitive gaze. Which of the sides were right? The next thing that happened was the final blow that ended the show: low rankings and ratings. The sad reality of low ratings and the heartbreaking decline of audience interest was a bitter pill to swallow for the once mighty Married with Children. As the controversies and criticisms piled up like heavy bricks, the show found itself sinking under the weight of its own audacity, and the consequences were devastating. In the early days, Married with Children soared high, riding the wave of its daring and irreverent humor. But as the seasons rolled on, the novelty began to wear thin for some viewers. The very controversies that had once fueled its popularity were now working against it, as the show's daring humor began to feel repetitive and predictable. The relentless onslaught of controversial content had created a love-hate relationship with its audience. While some remained dedicated fans, others found themselves growing tired of the show's formulaic approach to humor. The constant barrage of sexual innuendos, dysfunctional family dynamics, and crude jokes became too much for some viewers to bear. As the controversies continued to mount, the criticism from concerned parents and conservative groups added fuel to the fire. The negative publicity chipped away at the show's once solid fan base, causing some to tune out and switch channels in search of more family-friendly fare. And let's not forget the departure of key cast members, Bud and Kelly, whose exits left a void that was hard to fill. Their absence led to a shift in the show's dynamic, with the remaining characters struggling to maintain the same chemistry and charm that had once made Married with Children a hit. The decline in ratings was like a slow leak, gradually sapping the life out of the show. With each passing season, the numbers dwindled, leaving the show's creators scrambling to keep it afloat. It was a heartbreaking realization that even the most audacious humor had its limits, and the show's controversial reputation had become both a blessing and a curse. Despite attempts to introduce new characters and storylines, the damage had already been done. The show's once strong hold on the television landscape had weakened, and it found itself overshadowed by fresher and more innovative comedies. As the final seasons rolled in, it became clear that the end was near. The decline in viewership and the loss of audience interest left the show struggling to justify its continued existence. In a heartbreaking turn of events, the once mighty Married with Children bid farewell to its viewers, ending its run after an impressive 11-season journey. It was a bittersweet ending for a show that had once been a trailblazer in the world of sitcoms. While Married with Children will forever be remembered for its audacious humor and controversial legacy, its decline and eventual cancellation served as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most groundbreaking shows must eventually face the harsh reality of changing tides and fickle audiences. Laughter, fun, and nostalgia. That 70s show had it all, encapsulating an era in a package of entertainment. But behind the scenes, things were not as they seemed. You see, the cast harbored secrets, hidden shadows in a world flooded with stage lights, scandals, controversies, and personal demons. They were all tucked away, just waiting to burst forth. The allure of fame concealed a reality far more complex, and the truth was very bleak. But what were these dark secrets? And how did they manage to keep them hidden from the eyes of adoring fans? We're about to delve into a story that will change the way you see your favorite 70s stars. This is The Untold Tale, and you won't believe what you're about to discover. Hello, Tommy Chong went to jail. Remember Leo in the show? He was played by Tommy Chong, and in no time, everyone began to resonate with his character. Because of his connections, he became friends with the gang, and it is no secret that the character added color to the show. Tommy's portrayal of Leo was effortless, and viewers loved to see him on screen. Thankfully, throughout the third and fourth seasons, Leo appeared on screen regularly, but just when the fans became used to seeing him, Leo suddenly disappeared. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal to any of the viewers. Perhaps the show was building up to something and trying to keep Leo off, so the big reveal could be all that more exciting. But then the viewers were wrong. For the whole of Season 5, Leo never appeared on screen, so fans had no choice but to expect him to show up in the next season. Again, all through Season 6, no Leo. Now it began to get concerning. Where was he? The seasons turned into a massive search for Leo, so as to play to the character's absence on screen. As a result of this, it wasn't hard for fans to believe that it was planned. But in reality, Tommy Chong wasn't on ground to play Leo for 2 seasons because he had been arrested and then jailed for selling pot pipes. He was sentenced to 9 months in prison, and the studio tried to protect the character's image by keeping it under wraps. Leo finally showed up towards the end of Season 7 like nothing happened. Mila and Ashton hated each other's guts. We all know Mila Kunis, right? And Ashton Kutcher, well, although they're married now and have one of the most beautiful unions in Hollywood, it wasn't always like that. As a matter of fact, when they were both co-stars in the show, they hated each other deeply and wanted nothing to do with each other, but they had to work together, and so they found a way to set aside their strong dislike for one another and get the job done. However, as soon as the cameras were turned off, they went back to bickering and avoiding each other. It was clear to the crew members that their chemistry was being faked only for the cameras. But despite the hatred, they knew a lot about each other and were in each other's lives for a very long time, even after the show. Kunis always felt like Ashton was a stuck-up proud man who thought he was all that, and Kutcher, on the other hand, believed that Kunis was really annoying. But the end of their beef is the most shocking part of their story. It turns out that they had both decided to become friends with benefits, which is ironic because they had played in separate movies with the same theme. For a while, their little arrangement went well, but somehow the sparks began to fly and they fell in love. Luckily for them, they lived happily ever after. Why Laurie Foreman was recast. Lisa Robin Kelly lit up the screen as Eric Foreman's sassy big sister, Lori. She ruled the roost for the first 5 seasons, bringing the perfect blend of sass and spice. But after season 3, the spotlight on Lori began to dim. In season 4, Lori was nowhere to be found, only to return in season 5 only for a handful of episodes. The question on every viewer's lips was the same. What was going on with Lisa? Well, despite how much the show tried to cover it up, the fact remains that at the time, Lisa Robin Kelly was dealing with her own battles off screen. The struggles were real, and she decided to bid adieu to the show that made her famous. Because of how sudden and abrupt her exit was, the show had to recast her. Thankfully, talented actress Christina Moore swooped in for season 6, taking up the mantle in a twist that left fans buzzing. But why did Kelly leave the show? The actress later opened up about her heart-wrenching journey to ABC News. She said, "I went through hell. I faced loss, a loss so profound it shattered me. I spiraled down a dark path, leaning on alcohol just to cope." The 70s vibes weren't enough to shield her from her demons, and she admitted her battle with the bottle was real. Fast forward to the roller coaster ride of headlines in 2010. Kelly's DWI mugshot was suddenly on the internet, and it got everyone talking, raising eyebrows and questions. But the story doesn't end there. In 2012, she was back in the spotlight, this time facing allegations of domestic strife. Drama followed her like a shadow, and then a twist that no one saw coming. In 2013, tragedy struck. Lisa Robin Kelly, the star who had seen both highs and lows, lost the battle for her own life. She passed at the premature age of 43, a victim of a reported drug overdose. Topher Grace was a horrible kisser. Before his big breakthrough in 10 Things I Hate About You, Gordon Levitt made a pit stop in the groovy world of That 70s Show. Season 1 saw him step into the shoes of Eric's buddy, Buddy Morgan. Buddy harbored a secret crush on his pal, and sparks began to fly when they locked lips, a historic moment, as that on-screen kiss marked North America's first ever gay smooch during primetime. But here's the twist. Audiences weren't quite ready for it, and reportedly, they showed some hate. What could have been a recurring role was swiftly shuffled to just 1 episode. But don't think this was a roadblock in Gordon Levitt's rise. His career hardly blinked. Yet, behind the scenes, there was more than met the eye. The kiss left a lingering aftertaste. Gordon Levitt confessed to The Advocate that Grace, his on-screen partner, might have a record as one of the worst kissers he's encountered. Somehow the news and gossip of Topher being a terrible kisser made it to the public, and fans of the show ran with it. As embarrassing as it must have been to Toph, it served as a source of entertainment and distracted fans from spewing hate comments about the gay moment the show was trying to promote at the time. Why Tanya Roberts left the show. Red and Kitty Foreman, the dynamic duo of That 70s Show, weathered financial storms and job twists that kept life anything but predictable. Then there was Bob and Midge Pinciotti, giving us a front-row seat to the roller coaster of married life during the whirlwind of 70s feminism. Bob, played by Don Stark, wasn't exactly thrilled that Midge, the radiant Tanya Roberts, was trading dinner duty for feminist club meetings. But what truly caught everyone off guard was the jaw-dropping moment when Mr. and Mrs. Pinciotti called it quits. To make things even more interesting, Bob had his sights set on none other than Jackie's mom, Pam, brought to life by the one and only Brooke Shields, a plot twist that rocked the basement. But that storyline wasn't just part of the master plan. As a matter of fact, it had everything to do with real-life events. Turns out Tanya Roberts, the force behind Midge's character, had her own path to tread. The curtain lifted when she unveiled her truth on an true Hollywood story. It was the year 2001, and her husband, screenwriter Barry Roberts, was facing a battle he couldn't win. His illness, a looming shadow, prompted her to step away from the show. But eventually, Roberts made a triumphant return for a few episodes later in the show's run. However, fate wasn't done playing its hand. In June 2006, her husband tragically passed on, leaving behind memories and a legacy that touched the hearts of many. The red carpets, the flashing cameras, the adoring fans all create an illusion of invincibility. But what happens when the curtains close, the lights dim, and the stars are left alone with their own human frailties? For some, this solitude becomes a breeding ground for self-destructive habits, particularly alcoholism. And for a tragic few, the bottle becomes both a confidant and a killer, leading them down a path from which there is no return. These are some of the Hollywood actors who drank themselves to death. Veronica Lake. Born Constance Frances Marie Aukelman in 1922, was the epitome of Hollywood glamour in the 1940s. With her signature peekaboo hairstyle and sultry looks, she became an overnight sensation after her role in the 1941 film Sullivan's Travels. However, her rapid ascent to stardom was matched by an equally rapid descent into alcoholism. Lake's career began to wane by the late 1940s. Her erratic behavior on set, fueled by her increasing alcohol consumption, made her difficult to work with. By 1952, her contract with Paramount Pictures was not renewed, and she found herself performing in a small nightclub in New York to make ends meet. Her struggles with alcohol also led to the collapse of her marriages. She was married and divorced 4 times. In 1973, at the age of 50, Lake died of acute hepatitis and acute kidney injury, conditions exacerbated by years of alcohol abuse. She was found dead in her apartment in Burlington, Vermont, a tragic end to a life that had once held so much promise. Judy Garland. Born Frances Ethel Gumm in 1922, Judy Garland captured hearts as the innocent Dorothy in the 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz. Her voice was magical, her presence undeniable, but behind the scenes, Garland faced immense pressure from studio executives. They controlled her diet, her appearance, and even her sleep, often giving her pills to manage her energy levels. Garland's reliance on medication soon turned into dependency, and alcohol became another means to cope with her stressful life. Her career had its ups and downs. She was lauded for her performances in films like A Star is Born in 1954, but faced professional setbacks due to her erratic behavior and frequent illnesses, often attributed to her alcoholism. Her personal life was equally tumultuous. Garland was married 5 times, and each relationship was fraught with issues, including her struggles with substance abuse. On June 22, 1969, Garland was found dead in her London apartment. The cause was an accidental overdose of barbiturates, but years of alcohol abuse had taken their toll. She was only 47 years old. Billie Holiday, the voice silenced by cirrhosis. Born Eleonora Fagan in 1915, was one of the most influential jazz singers of all time. Her emotive voice, innovative techniques, and the raw honesty of her music made her an icon. However, Holiday's life was far from easy. She faced racial discrimination, abusive relationships, and a long-standing battle with substance abuse. Holiday's career took off in the 1930s, but her personal life was marred by a series of unfortunate events, including multiple arrests for drug possession. Alcohol became a constant companion, a way to numb the pain of a life filled with hardships. By the late 1950s, her health had deteriorated significantly due to cirrhosis of the liver, a direct result of her alcoholism. On July 17, 1959, Billie Holiday passed away in a New York City hospital. The official cause of death was cirrhosis of the liver. She was just 44 years old, her life and career cut tragically short by the very substances she used to cope with her difficult life. Carole Lombard, the comedy queen's untimely demise. Known for her roles in screwball comedies like My Man Godfrey, 1936, and Nothing Sacred, 1937, she was one of the highest-paid stars in Hollywood during the late 1930s. Her marriage to Clark Gable in 1939 seemed like a fairy tale, but behind the laughter and love was a woman grappling with personal demons, including a dependency on alcohol. Her drinking was initially social, a part of the Hollywood scene, but it escalated as she faced the pressures of maintaining her career and public image. The stress intensified during World War II as she became actively involved in war efforts, even going so far as to participate in a war bond tour. It was during this tour that tragedy struck. On January 16, 1942, the plane carrying her and 21 others crashed into a mountain near Las Vegas, killing everyone on board. She was only 33 years old. The official investigation cited pilot error as the cause, but rumors swirled about Lombard's state during the flight. Witnesses claimed she had been drinking before boarding, raising questions about whether alcohol played a role in the tragedy. While these claims were never substantiated, what remains clear is that her untimely death left a void in Hollywood and in the hearts of millions of fans. Her legacy, however, endures. She's remembered not just for her roles in iconic films, but also for her vivacious spirit and her contributions to the war effort. Yet her life serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even those who seem to have it all can be fighting battles we know nothing about. Jean Harlow, the blonde bombshell's battle with alcohol. She burst onto the Hollywood scene in the early 1930s, quickly becoming a sensation for her platinum blonde hair and sultry screen presence. Films like Hell's Angels, 1930, and Red Dust, 1932, catapulted her to stardom, making her one of the most sought-after actresses of her time. But behind the glamorous facade was a woman struggling with the pressures of fame and a growing dependence on alcohol. The studios capitalized on her image as a sex symbol, but this objectification took a toll on her self-esteem. To cope with the stress, she turned to alcohol, a decision that would have dire consequences. Her drinking began affecting her work. She would often show up late on set, and her performances started to suffer. The studio executives, concerned about their investment, tried to intervene, but to little avail. Her health began to deteriorate rapidly. In early 1937, she was diagnosed with acute nephritis, a severe kidney condition. Despite her illness, she continued to drink, exacerbating her health problems. On June 7, 1937, she died from complications related to her condition. She was just 26 years old. The news of her death shocked Hollywood and the world. Fans mourned the loss of a star who had shone so brightly yet burned out so quickly. Her story serves as a grim reminder of the destructive power of alcohol, especially when combined with the pressures of fame. It's a tale that has been told too often in Hollywood, a place where the lights can sometimes blind us to the darker aspects of life. Barbara Payton, A Starlet's Downfall to Skid Row. She was a promising actress in the early 1950s, with roles in films like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, 1950, alongside James Cagney. Her beauty and talent seemed to promise a long, successful career in Hollywood. However, a series of poor choices, both personal and professional, led her down a path of self-destruction. Payton's life began to unravel when she became embroiled in a highly publicized love triangle with actors Francho Tone and Tom Neal. The scandal was fodder for the tabloids and damaged her reputation in the industry. As film roles became scarce, she turned to alcohol to numb the pain of her faltering career and tumultuous personal life. Her drinking escalated quickly, leading to arrests and public incidents that further tarnished her image. By the late 1950s, she was no longer employable as an actress and began working in a variety of low-paying jobs, including as a waitress and a cashier. The glamour and promise of her early years in Hollywood seemed like a distant memory. In 1967, at the age of 39, Payton was found dead in her apartment in San Diego. The cause of death was acute alcohol poisoning. Her life had spiraled so far out of control that she was virtually unrecognizable as the starlet who had once graced the silver screen. Her story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of alcoholism and the fleeting nature of fame. It's a stark reminder that the bright lights of Hollywood can cast long, dark shadows. Chris Farley, the comedian, consumed by addiction. He burst onto the comedy scene in the early 90s, becoming an instant fan favorite on Saturday Night Live with his larger-than-life personality and physical comedy. His transition to film seemed natural, with hits like Tommy Boy in 1995 and Black Sheep, 1996, cementing his status as a comedy star. But behind the laughter was a man struggling with severe addiction issues, including alcoholism. Farley's quick rise to fame came with its own set of pressures. The expectations for each new project were high, and the comedian turned to alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms. His weight ballooned and his health deteriorated, but the partying continued. Multiple stints in rehab did little to curb his self-destructive behavior. His friends and family watched helplessly as his life spiraled out of control. On December 18, 1997, Farley was found dead in his Chicago apartment. The cause of death was a drug overdose, but years of alcohol abuse had taken a significant toll on his body. He was only 33 years old. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Fans mourned the loss of a comedic genius whose life had been cut tragically short. His story serves as a heartbreaking example of how addiction can consume even the most talented individuals, leaving behind a legacy of unfulfilled potential and sorrow. John Belushi, The Life of the Party Ends in Tragedy. A founding member of the Not Ready for Prime Time Players on Saturday Night Live, he became a cultural icon in the late 70s. His comedic style was boisterous, physical, and utterly captivating. Films like Animal House, 1978, and The Blues Brothers, 1980, showcased his talent and versatility, but they also perpetuated his hard-partying image, an image that would ultimately prove fatal. The pressure to maintain his comedic persona led him to a life of excess marked by heavy drinking and drug use. His behavior became increasingly erratic, affecting both his personal relationships and professional commitments. Despite the interventions of friends and family, he seemed unable to escape the grip of his addictions. On March 5, 1982, he was found dead in his room at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood. The cause of death was a lethal combination of cocaine and heroin, known as a speedball, but chronic alcohol abuse had also taken a toll on his health. He was just 33 years old, the same age as his friend and fellow comedian Chris Farley when he died. Montgomery Clift, a tortured soul lost to alcohol. A four-time Academy Award nominee, he was one of the most celebrated actors of the 1950s. His performances in films like A Place in the Sun, 1951, and From Here to Eternity, 1953, were critically acclaimed, earning him a reputation as a serious and talented actor. However, his life off-screen was far less idyllic, marred by a deep-rooted struggle with alcoholism. The turning point came in 1956 when he was involved in a near-fatal car accident that left him severely disfigured. The accident and subsequent surgeries took a toll on his mental health, and he turned to alcohol to cope with the pain and anxiety. His drinking affected his ability to work, directors found him increasingly difficult to manage, and his performances suffered as a result. By the 1960s, his career had declined significantly. The roles were fewer, and his health was deteriorating rapidly. Despite attempts to get sober, he couldn't escape the clutches of his addiction. On July 23, 1966, he was found dead in his New York City apartment. The official cause of death was a heart attack, but it was widely acknowledged that years of alcohol abuse had contributed to his early demise. He was only 45 years old. Dana Plato, a child star's descent into darkness. She captured America's heart as Kimberly Drummond on the popular TV show Different Strokes, which aired from 1978 to 1986. The show's success made her a household name, but it also exposed her to the pitfalls of early fame. As she transitioned from child star to adult actress, she found it difficult to secure roles, leading to a sense of frustration and inadequacy. To cope with her waning career and mounting personal issues, she turned to alcohol and drugs. Her substance abuse led to erratic behavior, making it even more challenging to find work in an industry that had already typecast her. Legal troubles soon followed. She was arrested multiple times for offenses ranging from forgery to robbery. Her life reached a tragic climax on May 8, 1999, when she was found dead in her RV. Parked outside her fiancé's mother's home in Oklahoma, the cause of death was ruled as an overdose of prescription medication, a combination of a muscle relaxant and a painkiller. However, her long-term struggle with alcohol was a contributing factor to her downward spiral. She was 34 years old at the time of her death. Dana Plato's story is a heartbreaking example of how the pressures of fame can lead to self-destructive behavior. Her life serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating the dark side of celebrity and the devastating consequences of addiction. It's a grim reminder that the transition from child star to adult can be fraught with peril, especially when complicated by substance abuse. River Phoenix, the rising star who burned out too soon. He was a prodigious talent, earning an Academy Award nomination at the age of 18 for his role in Running on Empty, 1988. His performances in films like Stand By Me, 1986, and My Own Private Idaho, 1991, showcased his range and depth, making him one of the most promising actors of his generation. But beneath the accolades and the public adoration lay a young man grappling with the pressures of fame and a growing dependency on alcohol and drugs. His substance abuse began as a coping mechanism to deal with the stress and expectations that came with his rapid rise to stardom. Despite his young age, he was already shouldering the burden of being the primary breadwinner for his family, adding another layer of pressure. His drinking escalated, often affecting his behavior on set and causing concern among those who cared about him. On the night of October 31st, 1993, he collapsed outside the Viper Room, a nightclub in West Hollywood. He was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. The cause of death was acute multiple drug intoxication, including heroin and cocaine. However, his long-term abuse of alcohol had also played a role in his tragic end. He was only 23 years old at the time of his death. His untimely passing shocked the world, leaving fans and the film industry to mourn the loss of a talent that had seemed limitless. His story serves as a stark warning about the dangers of substance abuse, particularly for those in the public eye. Margot Hemingway, the supermodel, haunted by inner demons, granddaughter of the famed writer Ernest Hemingway, she seemed destined for greatness from the start. She made a name for herself as a supermodel in the 1970s, gracing the covers of top fashion magazines and becoming the first model to secure a $1 million contract for a cosmetics campaign. Her transition to acting, including a role in the 1976 film Lipstick, appeared to signal a new chapter in her already successful career. However, behind the camera flashes and red carpet events was a woman tormented by personal struggles, including alcoholism. Her battle with alcohol began in her early 20s, exacerbated by the pressures of her high-profile career and a family history of substance abuse. Despite her public persona as a glamorous and confident woman, she suffered from depression and low self-esteem, issues that alcohol temporarily masked but ultimately worsened. As her career waned in the 1980s, her drinking escalated. Multiple stints in rehab failed to provide a lasting solution, and her personal life became increasingly unstable. On July 1st, 1996, she was found dead in her Santa Monica apartment. The cause of death was suicide by overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse was a contributing factor. She was 41 years old at the time of her death. Jim Morrison, the rock legend who couldn't escape his vices. As the charismatic frontman of The Doors, he became an iconic figure in rock music during the late 1960s. His poetic lyrics and magnetic stage presence captivated audiences, making him one of the most influential musicians of his time. However, his rapid ascent to fame came with a heavy price, as he grappled with alcoholism and drug addiction. His relationship with alcohol was complex and destructive. It fueled his creativity but also led to erratic behavior, both on and off the stage. Arrests for public indecency and confrontations with law enforcement became frequent, tarnishing his public image. Despite the negative impact on his career and personal life, he seemed unable or unwilling to break free from his addictions. On July 3, 1971, he was found dead in the bathtub of his Paris apartment. The official cause of death was heart failure, but no autopsy was performed due to French legal regulations. He was 27 years old, joining the infamous 27 Club, a group of musicians who died at that age. While the exact circumstances of his death remain a subject of speculation, it is widely accepted that his years of alcohol and drug abuse were contributing factors. Janis Joplin, the queen of rock and roll's battle with the bottle. She burst onto the music scene in the late 1960s, her soulful voice and electric stage presence quickly earning her the title of the Queen of Rock and Roll. Her hits like Piece of My Heart and Me and Bobby McGee are timeless classics, but her life was cut tragically short, largely due to her struggles with alcohol and drug addiction. From her early days in the San Francisco music scene, she was known for her hard-living lifestyle. Alcohol became a constant companion, often seen swigging from a bottle of Southern Comfort during performances. While her raw energy and emotional intensity were part of her allure, they also masked deep-seated insecurities and emotional pain, which she sought to numb through substance abuse. Her career was on an upward trajectory, with her second solo album, Pearl, poised to become her most successful yet. However, she would not live to see its release. On October 4, 1970, she was found dead in her hotel room in Hollywood. The cause of death was a heroin overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse had also taken a toll on her health. She was 27 years old, another member of the ill-fated 27 Club. Heath Ledger, a brilliant actor's final act. He was a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood, earning critical acclaim for roles in films like Brokeback Mountain, 2005, and The Dark Knight, 2008. His portrayal of the Joker remains one of the most iconic performances in cinematic history. However, behind the accolades and the fame was a man struggling with the pressures of his rapidly ascending career, turning to alcohol and prescription drugs as coping mechanisms. His friends and family noticed changes in his behavior as he became more reclusive, often locking himself away to prepare for roles. The intensity with which he approached his craft began to take a physical and emotional toll. Sleep became elusive, and he relied on a cocktail of prescription medications to manage his insomnia and anxiety. On January 22, 2008, he was found dead in his New York City apartment. The cause of death was ruled as an accidental overdose of prescription medications, including sleeping pills and anti-anxiety drugs. However, his history of alcohol abuse was also a contributing factor, exacerbating the effects of the medications. He was 28 years old at the time of his death. His untimely passing left the world in shock, mourning the loss of an actor whose potential seemed limitless. His story serves as a grim reminder of the dangers of mixing alcohol with prescription medications, a lethal combination that can lead to tragic outcomes. It's a cautionary tale that underscores the need for greater awareness and understanding of the risks associated with substance abuse, even among those who seem to have it all. The stories of these talented individuals serve as a collective cautionary tale, illustrating the devastating impact that alcoholism and substance abuse can have. Each of them reached the pinnacle of success in their respective fields, captivating audiences with their artistry. Yet each also faced personal demons that ultimately led to their untimely deaths. The broader impact of these tragedies extends beyond the loss of talent. Families were shattered, fans were left heartbroken, and the entertainment industry lost some of its brightest stars. These stories also serve as a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for mental health support and addiction treatment, particularly within the high-pressure environment of Hollywood. It's a grim reality that substance abuse is often glamorized or overlooked, especially when it involves celebrities. Yet, as these profiles reveal, no amount of fame or fortune can shield one from the destructive power of addiction. These lives, though cut short, leave behind a legacy that we must not ignore. They serve as poignant reminders of the human cost of untreated addiction and mental health issues, urging us to take action and address this ongoing crisis.